Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be getting started in just a minute, please. Thank you. Okay, good evening and welcome to St. Tammany Parish Council meeting Thursday, October 7th, 2021 at 6 p.m. St. Tammany Parish Government Complex. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Mr. Fitzgerald if he'd lead us in the pledge, and also Mr. T.J. Smith in the invocation, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us stand and bow our heads in prayer as we look toward heaven with our hearts and our eyes toward Mother Dust and ask our Creator, dear God, we come once again with bowed heads and humbled hearts just to say thank you. Thank you, dear God, for this blessed opportunity that you've afforded us once again to assemble ourselves in this place that you provided. We thank you, O God, for your grace and your mercy. We thank you for your love. We thank you, O God, for your Son, Jesus, that you sent to be a substitute for us, for our sins, O God. And we thank you for it, O God. And dear God, as we approach this meeting this evening, we come at this time in the absence and with the loss of one of our family members here in government and our dear friend, Steve Stefancik. We pray for his soul at this time, O God, that it would rest with you. We thank you, O God, for the time that he gave here on this side to the contribution of the community that he loves so much. We thank you for him, O God, and the contributions that he made. We pray for his family, O God, and ask that you would, O God, be with them at this time during their mourning, in their time of bereavement, this community and this loss, O God. We thank you for him, O God, and everything that he's done for us through you. In Jesus' name we pray and ask it all. Amen, and amen.
Thank you, Councilman Smith, and thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Dean? Mr. Fitzgerald? Ms. Casabon? Mr. Lorino?
Here.
Mr. Toledano? Ms. Tanner? Mr. Davis? Mr. Canulet? Mr. Mike Smith? Ms. O'Brien? Mr. Bender? Mr. Airy? And Mr. T.J. Smith. We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. As Councilman Smith referenced, Councilman Stefancik passed, and what I'd like to do at this time, before we even start moving with the body of the meeting, is to call up Council Lady, Councilwoman, Madam Chairman, a good friend of mine, Miss Michelle Blanchard, if she would come and take the podium and express the thoughts, the feelings, and the dedication that Councilman Stefancik has given to St. Tammany Parish for these 30-plus years. And thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We have lost a great councilman and a great man, and I in this parish have lost a dear friend. When I was asked to speak by the chair tonight, I thought, what do I have to add to the public comments in respect to my dear friend? Others here tonight can speak to his lead foot, his disregard for the speed limit, and surely you'll soon hear about his never-ending work ethic, his ability to be forward-thinking, his dedication to this community to the very end. So I want to take a few moments to honor the man, the amazing man that he was to the very end. We live today in a parish that was reshaped by Steve Stefancik. During his time in public service since 1988 and his 9 terms in office, he advocated for hundreds of millions of dollars in federal and state funds to benefit this parish. He has overseen the creation of the Trace, the fishing pier, and his Pride, a state-of-the-art modern courthouse with countless roads and drainage projects. As a councilwoman during my public service, I closely worked with Steve. We talked regularly before and during the meetings. We attended numerous meetings together, and we took field trips to go look at road and drainage. He always had a story to share, in particular about his family. He was an amazing man and definitely one of a kind. Steve knew his own mind. He had firm principles, and I believe right ones, and he expounded them clearly and he acted upon them decisively. When a challenge or problem came his way, he was not baffled, disoriented, or overwhelmed. Not even his failing body could deter him. He knew almost instinctively what to do and would methodically tackle each challenge that came his way, working to find a resolution no matter the adversity, the popularity, or even the challenge of time. He was a man that did not accept the word no for an answer. He thought through all problems, and he always weighed the pros and cons. No matter the issue, he was prepared. You could always count on him to keep his promise, and you could always look confidently to him for his firm leadership. Steve Stefancik never let you down. He fulfilled every obligation he ever undertook, and his word was his bond, and everyone knew it. Steve was a self-made man and self-reliant. From early childhood, growing up on the farm in Indiana, playing high school football, and I think his head was so hard he didn't require a helmet. Achieving a bachelor's degree in mathematics and computer science from Indiana State University, he made his own way, and he was proud of his accomplishments. He worked and was employed by the Navy as a civil employee. He taught high school. He traveled Indiana as a KC regional leader. He worked and retired with Lockheed Martin Space System after 28 years. However, we all know he never retired. He lived for his public service to the very end. He was a jack of all trades, a rare man that could logically analyze, but practically apply, and even mechanically hands-on solve problems. This man knew more about asphalt than the experts in the field, and he developed a lifetime of expertise in a number of subject matters. Steve Stefancik engaged with the world as a man who would be its master. He is the perfect example of a dedicated public servant. Besides being a perfect public servant that many of us knew, Steve was a family man, and when he talked about his family, his smile met his eyes. He loved his wife, Margaret, his children, Mark, Tricia, and Joe, and his grandchildren very much. He enjoyed his trips to visit the family in his home state, and God bless Margaret for all those years of riding with him in that lead foot on those long drives. And I want to thank his family for sharing him with us and with our parish for so many years. His service and dedication bless this community, and his deeds of service will continue to benefit our community for years to come. I admired Steve, and I shall miss my dear friend, and this community shall deeply miss him in his service. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing him with us. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Michelle. And once again, very well said. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to start over to my right and call on each council member for their comments and thoughts on Councilman Stefancik. Mr. Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was been thinking all day long what I could say about him. I remember the very first time I met him, I was on the city council. So it had to have been probably around 95, 96, somewhere around there. the relationship between the city of Covington and the parish was not a good one at the time. The city was suing the parish for trying to move the courthouse out of Covington. There was all kind of revenue sharing disagreements, annexations, all that. So there was just a real contentious relationship there for a few years. The first time I met him, he and I and a guy named Matt Faust, who was on the city council, met for lunch, and the first time I met him, and we discussed just kind of in what motion, what direction we were going to go with all of this, because the heads, the mayors, and it was a mess. Steve, I can't say much more than what Michelle has already said, but he was so at ease and so articulate and so just kind of was able to, instead of keeping the argument going, he was able to see through it and find some solutions. And I am convinced that Steve Stefancik had the huger hand above all people. I mean, Rod Rodriguez and Matt Faust, they did a lot to get that settled. But I'm convinced that his level head, his intellect, his need or his want to solve the problem is why we have the courthouse still in Covington. It looks the way it is. There's a revenue sharing agreement between the parish and several of the cities in the parish, and it was just it just all kind of smoothed out. That was who Steve was to me. I mean, he was always a very good friend and always just real loyal and smart, very, very smart. I remember one time, I'll say this, I'm going to hush, he and Walter Reed, our previous DA, I don't think I'm talking out of school here, but there was a few years that they didn't like each other very much. That happens in politics. But at one point, Steve had a fundraiser, and Walter Reed got up and gave some of y'all might remember, they gave a wonderful speech. But one of the things he kept saying was, I admire Steve for being so smart. And Steve was a very bright guy. He was, like Michelle said, he was an expert. He made himself an expert at a lot of things. So I really appreciate my relationship with Steve Stefancik all of these years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. Mr. Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first met Steve in the interview process to be appointed in the wake of Councilman Dennis Sharp. And we were sitting there and having a discussion, and I remember Steve asked me, well, what quality do you think you have that would make you a good councilman? I thought about it for a while, and I said, well, I'm a pretty good listener. And I think at that point, Steve made his mind up that he would work to appoint me, and that's why I'm here. Because he was a good listener. He understood that. And not only a good listener, he could process what he was being told and come up with really thoughtful and forward-looking solutions. And once he made up his mind that that's the direction we should go, he was tenacious as a bulldog getting it done. He just wouldn't let it go. He was a mentor of mine.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. Ms. Casabon?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to spend a lot of time as a council person with him, but I did have 25 years of his mentorship on planning and zoning. Steve would always call me up if he had something in his area that meant a lot to him, and he had a way of expressing and he just didn't say, I want this. He gave us the background, he gave us the reason for things, and it made us clear how important it was to be able to handle things in his district. I learned a lot from a lot of different conversations and stuff, and when unfortunately he could talk as much as I could, and we'd talk for hours on the phone, but he was such an example, and as a public servant, that people ask me all the time, why do you do this? And it's to give back. But he was the impediment of giving back to this parish, and we'll always be grateful for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Taladano?
Thank you very much. Steve Stefancik, in my view, was the essence of what we do up here as legislators. He was very much a mentor of mine, and I'm very proud to say that. When I first decided to run for this position, I talked to Steve. When I decided to ask my fellow councilmen to consider me for the vice presidency, I talked to Steve. When I had major issues in my district or ones that overlapped into parish government, I talked to Steve. He was a man of great principle, and if I could say nothing else about any other fellow man or woman, the fact that he was a principled gentleman speaks to me the most important quality. He was a great man. He was a great leader. God knows he loved his family. We must have talked about every trip he made up north. He would often call me sometimes late at night. I would think it was a phone solicitor, and it would be Steve imparting his wisdom and discussing points with me. It was an honor to work with him. Part of me is mad as all get out that he's not here any longer in person, although his spirit will be here, I think, forevermore. He took St. Tammany Parish through some of the greatest crises that we have seen in recent history in this parish. And he did it not only in a principled fashion, but he did it in a well-reasoned fashion. And that's why very often people would say, well, look, what's Stefancik going to do in this? And the bottom line is most of us would listen very carefully to him, and he was able to get his points across because he had a way to communicate where he was honoring you by participating in discussing matters with him. And at the same time, he was a great advocate for his positions and his constituents. And I'll say this about Steve. Tom never passed him by. His ability to work issues and deal with people, you would say, well, you know, he's been there a long time, and God was good to us that he was here a long time. But Tom never passed him by. He was just as sharp as a tack the week before when I talked to him as he was 25 years ago. I cannot really tell you how much of a personal loss it is to me to see him not a part of this body government anymore. But I'm honored to have been here with him, and I've learned a lot about life as a result of it. We loved him, we still love him, and we'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taladano. Ms. Daniel?
Yes, Steve and my husband was very good friends. And after my husband's passing, Steve was there for me. He was always, and always has been. I'm gonna miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Mr. Bender? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, I'm sorry.
Thank you. As Martha was saying, when we were on the planning and zoning together, Steve would give us a call every now and then. Steve was the kind of guy that he wanted to get as much information as possible to try to make the right decision, and I truly respect a person for that. And he was a great guy. In the last few weeks, he asked me to help him with some of his cases that were coming up. And I knew he meant, he even to the end, he wanted to go ahead and do as much as he could for the public that he served. And I truly respected that. On a funny note, Steve was not a funny person. He didn't have a sense of humor. And on purpose. I'll say this, he had a sense of humor by accident. How can I tell you this? A couple of weeks ago, I went over to Margaret and Steve's house and picked Steve up to go to the doctor's office. I drove him, and so when I got there, of course, I was using my wife's new car, not my old truck that had no air conditioning. So I was leading him into my wife's car and stuff, and it's a nice little black little luxury car. And I opened the door for him, and he puts his hand on the roof, and he's getting in, and he goes, "Whose car is this?" I said, "Well, it's my wife's." And he goes, "Well, she's hot." He didn't mean my wife. No, I thought he did. I really did. I thought he did. I said, "Well, I'll tell her that." I said, and he goes, "No, the car's hot, but I've met your wife too. As a matter of fact, that's another story where you met my wife at Walmart and said your husband needs to run for council." I'll never forget that. Never forget it. But so in his own way, his dedication. That's how I value a person, his dedication and his responsibility to his family and to the people that he served. He was a good guy.
Thank you, Jimmy. Mr. Bender?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like Marty had mentioned back in his days with the Covington City Council, like Marty, I was on the Slidell City Council before I came to the St. Tammany Parish Council. And that's when I first really met Steve and began to get to know Steve in my role in '98 and going forward with the city, in his role as a police juror, of course, well before me, and moving forward. One thing that I picked up on then, and especially when I came to the parish council in '04, is, and I haven't heard this word yet, so I get to use it fresh, I think. Steve was very devoted to the people of his council district and to the people of St. Tammany Parish. And that devotion is not an issue of which one of us is right the most of the times, which one of us have to give in some of the times. It's all about the hard work, the heart. He had the mind, but he also had the heart, as someone said, to see it through, to see things through to completion. In thinking about Steve, when I got the news, there were two things I thought about that have really had an effect on me, because I didn't know that in 2012, with redistricting, I would assume a piece of the Bayou Liberty area. Over the years, Steve was an advocate, a proponent of the people of Bayou Liberty. I say that because I've had the pleasure of serving some of the people that are in that Bayou Liberty community. And I started to understand more and more why he had a great love for Bayou Liberty as a particular part of his district. Also, I watched Camp Salmon come to life, come from something that it was someone's vision way back when. But as things happen, it started to decay. But along came Steve and the friends of Camp Salmon. And together, they did what Steve knew how to do, and that was put in the hard work, put in the constant effort, overcome the hurdles that we face with no matter what we face, but we do face hurdles. And I've been to Camp Salmon many times since then. I've been on the Bayou Liberty a number of times. And when I think of Steve, I really particularly think of those two particular things, because I think he had a great love in particular for those particular items. So Steve will be missed. I have to end with saying also, to the benefit of all of us, Steve had what only time gives you, and that is a great amount of historical knowledge. And that is a teaching moment for all of us on the council. And he was willing to provide that teaching knowledge based upon his history and what he saw from 1998 all the way until he passed on to the good Lord. So, Steve, may you rest in peace, and my sincerest condolences to Miss Margaret, Joe, and the entire Stefancik family.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. Mr. Canulet?
All right. What to say? This says so much. So let me tell you how I feel. Today, the first time in 22 years, I hated to get in that damn truck and drive here. I knew this was going to be the toughest meeting I've ever had to do. We could talk about what he's done for days. It's just so much. But I will like to say this. You know, I always had a little fun with him. And then Michelle comes along, and I was replaced as his favorite, or at least I thought I was his favorite, until Michelle showed up. And like always, he made the perfect decision, because what you did tonight, I can't thank you enough. It was spot on. The other group that we have to thank is Miss Margaret and her family. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have got him. We wouldn't have got to see him. They gave up so much. I don't think people understand that. Our spouses, our kids. I don't know if the public will ever understand it. How much our family gives up. Because we're not there, because we're doing this. We're somewhere. We're in Covington. We're Slidell. We're all over. So I'll end with this. The parliamentarian, if he was here today, he'd have 3 minutes on that clock while we're speaking. And you dare not go over. But I missed a dear friend that won't be replaced. So good luck.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Mike Smith?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how he helped me personally. So I got to a part in my campaign, I made the runoff, and I was out of money, and I was going to have to tell my wife that I was going to take another $3,000 out of our checking account, out of our savings account. Phone rang, and Steve said, "I need to see you." Okay, so I went and drove with him, gave me a $1,000 check. He said, I've been watching you, and you're the one. We need you on the council. But I am going to come back and ask for a vote. And he hooked me up with 2 other people, and I got through my campaign. And then Michelle, the first thing he told me the first night was he spent 15 minutes talking about the right kind of asphalt to lay down in my district. Okay? And then he took me under his wing that first 6 or 7 months, and it made a big difference, because I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. I still am learning. Okay? And he would always call you up before a vote, and he would say, "Okay, I got this thing coming up, and I need your vote. I already got 8 votes." I'm like, "Well, hell, Steve, if you got 8 votes, you don't really need me, do you?" But he did. And then I'm going to end kind of like Chris did, okay? I looked at his resume. So he was a teacher. He worked for the space program. He worked for Lockheed. He was a councilman 9 times. And that's a lot of work that nobody ever sees. It's an enormous amount of work. It's a calling, and all you have to do is ask the family how much time they spent on all that. That's the definition of someone who's a public servant. Not in it for the money, not in it for the glory, not in it for the thanks, but in it to serve other people. That's it. I'm finished.
Thank you, Mike. Ms. O'Brien?
Well, so many people have said some things about him professionally, and I don't think anybody will ever be able to give us as much advice about asphalt as Steve did. But I want to tell you about something that happened to me personally. Years ago, after the dinner one time, we were talking about a friend of mine who is struggling. I have been involved in singles ministry for a long time. And I told him the story about this poor girl who couldn't pay her bills, and she was afraid her electricity was going to be turned off. Steve looked at me and didn't say a word. He pulled out his pocket. He pulled out two $100 bills. He said, "You go give this to your friend. Get her to go pay her electricity bill." He said, "Thank you for telling me that." Now, he didn't know her name. He didn't even know her name. That's the kind of heart he had. And I will never forget that he did that for my friend. Because let me tell you what, her electricity would have been turned off had it not been for Steve Stefancik. And I am so sorry for your loss. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, I just want to echo a lot of what Michelle said. Some of you may not know that Michelle can be argumentative and hard-headed herself, so it was a constant source of amusement for me for the 5 years she was on the council whenever she got off the phone with Steve and be like, "That man is so hard-headed." He had a way of dealing with things that he could just put things in perspective and try to get to the root of the problem and put everything else aside to get the best result. And he looked at things not just as his district, although obviously he kept very good care of that, but of the whole parish. And I just think he got elected here in 1988. I was in 9th grade. And to have done this job for so long and at such a high level, it's just a testament to how smart and how dedicated he was to this parish. And I've enjoyed being on the council with him. I didn't enjoy the time that I was going to take him here and he decided to drive. I closed my eyes the whole way, and it's still amazed that we made it here and back in one piece. But at the end of the day, when your time on earth is done, I guess can you look at yourself in the mirror and say, you did your best and you left this world a better place than you found it. And Steve could answer yes to that for 100 people. So goodbye, old buddy, and I'm going to miss you.
Mr. T.J. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the waiting audience saved the best for last. In 1992, when I ascended to this position on the police jury, I had an opportunity to meet a guy that a lot of people call Steve Stefancik. Steve, everything is Stefancik. And as the years progressed, and I got a chance to work with Steve from that time on for 21 years, knowing him for 29 years after that time, I got a chance to understand a lot about Steve Stefancik, the man. And all the things that have been expressed about him tonight, I can say are true, based on my experience with him. But the individuals that I really feel the most for are sitting in front of us, Margaret and those children, who really sacrificed their husband and dad to the community in a life of service to the community that Steve Stefancik gave. And they put themselves second to the community by allowing Steve to do what he did for the community that he loved so much. From the Southern Hotel, as it stands now, where I first met Steve, and the police jury office was at that location at the time, to the courthouse that Michelle alluded to Thanksgiving dinners every year for his barn crew. Steve would appreciate the people who were in the trenches doing the real grunt work for making St. Tammany Parish what it is and making us look as well as we did. But every year, Steve would make sure that the barn crews were recognized by putting on a Thanksgiving dinner that was fit for a king. He spared no expense, a man with a huge heart for giving back. Many people refer to us as legislators. Some of them refer to us as politicians. Some of us refer to us as elder statesmen. But Steve Stefancik was a public servant in the true sense of the word. And with being the last person to comment tonight, I would like for all of us to stand at this time and just give the service that Steve Stefancik paid to this community a round and round of applause, as well as appreciate his family.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'm going to close on it, and before I do, I want to say once again, Michelle, thank you very much. I realize how hard that was for you to do, but I know there's a man up in heaven that is smiling right now, and I just want to say thank you. Margaret, Joe, Mark, Trish, Greg, thank you. Thank you. No one knows. Everyone can speculate. Everyone can think. Everyone can shake their head. No one knows the shoes that the family has been wearing for the past 33 years. And he had a big pair of shoes, and the family had a big pair of shoes because you all were there watching. And I just want to say thank you for that on behalf of the council. I had a nice prepared little reading statement, but just about everybody on this council touched on what I had there. So I'm just going to talk a few minutes about Steve. I came in here, as Mr. Dean tells me most of the time, totally unknown, but I did come in here in 2015. And the very first council meeting I attended in 2015, I had left my office in Metairie, and I was on the Causeway that I crossed for 18 years in my other profession. And I get a phone from Councilman Stefancik. And so I answered the phone, and as I said, I was brand new. And Steve went into a dissertation on what I need to do at the council meeting. He was an absolute professional, courteous, devoted politician, councilman, friend that wanted to let me know that it was my first council meeting and this, and this might happen. And he almost got me all the way across the Causeway before he really got to the reason why he wanted to call me. And that was, as someone said sitting to my left, Steve had a very good habit of, I have this issue and I have 8 votes, so I really don't need your vote, but I just want to talk to you about it, okay? So, as being brand new, I'm scratching my head. I said, what the hell did this man call me for if he didn't need my vote? So what I did at that meeting, I came and I told him he didn't have my vote. And I still remember the issue, but I won't repeat it. But I told him, you don't have my vote. And he looked at me and he says, Mike, I talked to you for 40 minutes getting you across the Causeway, and the last thing I asked was for your vote, and you're not giving it to me? I said, Steve, you already had 8 votes. You don't need mine. He says, well, I need it this time. Well, that's Steve Stefancik. What a great man. Some people out there, well, not here, but some people will say that term was too long. You need term limits. And we all have term limits, and we know why, and I'm a supporter of term limits. But let me tell you one thing. Knowing what I know sitting here right now, St. Tammany had the best councilman that was elected year after year. Every one of those elections were term limits. Every one. And everyone up here has listened and fought him, because he's not always right. But what a great man and a great loss to this council. And I know one thing he wanted more than anything. He wanted to walk away from this council and stand up here and say goodbye. So, my friend, I'm going to say goodbye for you. Goodbye from Mr. Steve Stefancik, and God bless him and his family. Okay. I need to do one thing. I'll get it back. The funeral arrangements for Steve Stefancik will be held on Monday, October 11th at St. Genevieve Catholic Church. Visitations from 10 to 11, then a Mass at 11. There will be a repast for friends and family in the church hall after Mass. The address is 58203 Highway 43 in Slidell. And now we'll move to the meeting. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Mr. Ronald Martin, Mr. Martin, would you come? You want to come up? So I think you put a card in to speak about Mr. Stefancik. Would you please come up?
Thank you. I am Ron Martin. I've only been in the parish since 1984. I saw and met with Steve a couple of times, talked to him a few times on the phone, but my family and myself want to send our condolences to this gathering here and the family, and we ask Wakantanka, the Creator, to hold his hand over the family and all of the council members here. He will be missed. And in Lakota, there are two words that pretty much describe my feelings about Steve, and that is Wakasha Waste, and that translates to a good man. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll read public comments. We'll get into the meeting now, or we'll try. Public comments, a 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda, except appeals. To ensure that all speakers are heard, please hold your cheers and applause anyone who wishes to place a comment card in the record, but who does not wish to speak at the podium may fill out a speaker card and check the boxes indicating they do not wish to speak. The next thing we have is special items. Note, the Parish Council will hold a public hearing in council chambers at 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 4th, 2021, to review the proposed operating and capital improvement budgets prior to adoption. Copies of the proposed budget will be made available for public inspection by October 14, 2021 at the Parish Council office or online at www.stpgov.org. I'll read number 1. Ordinance calendar number 6784, an ordinance to adopt the 2022 operating budget by myself and President Cooper, scheduled to be introduced at October 7, 2021 Parish Council meeting. Number 2 is ordinance calendar number 6785, ordinance to establish the 2022 through 2026 capital improvement budget and capital assets, Lorino and Cooper, scheduled to be introduced at the October 7, 2021 Parish Council meeting. Ms. Long, I believe you have presented the council with the budget, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
These two ordinances are for introduction.
Okay, the budget's for introduction. We have that. I just have a couple of questions on the budget, Ms. Long, if
Yes,
you
sir.
don't mind.
Yes, sir.
And really, we're going to have plenty of time to delve into the numbers and meetings that we have, and we'll be able to get to that. But just a few questions. This budget that is you presented to us tonight is a balanced budget, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is the administration required to present to council a balanced budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's what you have done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does this budget that you presented to the council tonight cover all expenses that are required by the parish expenses and the mandated cost expenses that we're required to pay as a parish?
The operating budget that we present to you today with regard to parish operating departments covers expenses with regard to state mandated costs and some of the agencies within our general fund. It does not fully fund all requests made of that fund.
Okay. So if I wanted to ask you the question that, is the DA's office, the sheriff's office, and the jail and justice center, are they being fully funded in this budget at this time?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I think Mr. Taladano.
Thank you very much. I move for the introduction of ordinance calendar number 6784, being specifically the operating budget for 2022 for St. Tammany Parish.
Thank you. There's a motion by Mr. Taladano, a second by Mr. Dean. Would you please vote? No vote? Okay. Mr. Taladano, I believe you want to do number 2.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lorino, I'm going to move for the introduction of ordinance calendar number 6785, being specifically the 22/2036 capital improvement budget and capital assets. In that regard, I move for the introduction.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Taladano. Second by Mr. Bender. Thank you. We'll go to presentations. Thank you, Ms. Long.
Yes, sir.
We'll go to presentations. Presentation number 1, Mr. President. Did you bring the council a check, sir?
I could say something about that. It reminds me of the old days too, but I'm not going to.
Well, you know, Mike, we have to get a little fun right now. You know?
We do, and Mr. Chairman and members of the council, and those that are here with us this evening, and those who are watching on STBG TV, I indicated that I wanted to say a few words too, and I would do that when I came up to the podium.
Yes, sir.
Speaking on behalf of the citizens of St. Tammany Parish, I say, and I wish the family were here, but I know that they're hearing these words, that Councilman Steve Stefancik will sorely be missed for our parish. He did give 33 years of dedicated, devoted service to our parish with distinction, as many of you said, and each and every one of you shared so many touching words about Mr. Stefancik. And you all knew him better than I did. You all lost a member of your family, a member of your council family. You worked with them each and every day. I feel a loss as well. While he and I may not have agreed on everything, we agreed on some things, but we did grow to have a mutual respect for each other. And we shared phone calls over the past few months that I thought he may have not called me on purpose, but when I realized that he did, I was surprised. But no, we had a cordial and respectful relationship.
Yes, sir.
My prayers go out to each and every one of you for your loss. My prayers go out to the staff of the council. I know that the staff has grown close to him over the years, those who work with him now and those who have worked with him in the past. And of course, my prayers go out for Miss Margaret, the two sons and daughter and entire family, the Stefancik family. Again, on behalf of St. Tammany Parish, my prayers go out to Mr. Stefancik. May his soul rest in peace, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I do have a presentation, two presentations this evening, but actually the first presentation is for Employee of the Month. And because last month we did not have a meeting until the end of September, and our Employee of the Month was Team Tammany, the employees of St. Tammany Parish. Well, because we're still in the recovery of Hurricane Ida, and each and every one of our employees is working so hard to serve our citizens as we continue the recovery of Hurricane Ida. Our Employee of the Month for the month of October is Team Tammany once again. So I know that the council joins me in congratulating and thanking our hardworking staff for what they do each and every day to serve our citizens. So no long proclamation tonight for Employee of the Month. But I do have another presentation, and it is a check. And our employees, every 2 weeks on their paycheck, give $2 or more to go toward a cause, a nonprofit or a service organization that's close and dear to our hearts. And every summer, we select 2 causes, and for 6 months, that money is accumulated and a check is presented to a representative of that organization to receive funding that comes from each and every one of our employees who provide money out of their check, every check that's submitted. So tonight, I'm happy to present a check to Hope House and Children's Advocacy Center. And representing them this evening is Thomas Mitchell, Executive Director of Hope House Children's Advocacy Center. And Thomas, if you'd come up here, I'll present you with a check in the amount of, what is it, $4,934?
That's correct.
Let me put my mask on, please. You've got him.
I'm vaccinated.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Thank you, sir.
Please say a few words. Please say a few words.
Yes. Yeah, thank you all
Yes, sir.
For having us. And special thanks to Parish President Mike Cooper. He's been a wonderful advocate for our cause, both in his official capacity and outside of his official capacity. And thank you, Parish President, for your continued support of our kids. Thank you to all of you, and sincere condolences for Councilman Stefancik and his passing. You know, I enjoyed listening to his wonderful legacy that he left our parish. Children's Advocacy Center Hope House is a 501c3 nonprofit mandated organization by the Louisiana State Legislature to collect and record forensic evidence anytime there's a crime against a child within our 22nd Judicial District. That evidence that we collect is audio and visual evidence. We're the only licensed professionals in the entire parish to speak with kids after a crime of sexual abuse or physical abuse or child pornography occurs. And then that case is then given to the District Attorney Warren Montgomery, and we experienced sincerely positive prosecution rates of 96% conviction rates based on our latest statistics. Once that evidence goes to court, then we provide free counseling services. I can't speak to the volumes of good that Hope House does. It's truly a force of good in our community. A lot of people tell us I could never work there and see the kids who you work with. Oh, y'all do great work. Y'all are saints. I could never work there because I would just be depressed all the time. It's not a sad place at all. It's a place of healing. It's a place of hope. An hour before this meeting, I left our center in downtown Covington, and there was a little boy, 9 years old, named Adam, and he was walking through the halls, taking his artwork out of therapy to show his parents. And I can't tell you how excited and how happy he was. And Adam is just being a normal 9-year-old. He's worried about normal things now, soccer practice and school, and what is he going to eat for lunch tomorrow. He's not worried about, is my uncle going to hurt my parents because I told somebody? And we received that case of Adam 7 months ago. He's been in therapy since. It's being prosecuted with the district attorney's office, and we're going to experience a successful prosecution. That's really what makes our community whole and makes our kids whole without PTSD and some of these complications that they experience without Hope House. So this is an investment in Adam, and this gives us, for Hope House, 5 kids that experience our program from start to finish. So these are 5 Adams. Your constituents, your kids that you represent, maybe some of your family members or extended family. So this is the greatest investment I think we have to offer, and thank you for this. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Michael. Mr. Montgomery, I just want to say we're going to get your issue in a minute, but before I forget, I just want to say thank you for prosecuting and getting those convictions. Thank you very much. Okay. Ms. O'Brien asked for personal privilege. Ms. O'Brien?
Yes, sir. I was asked by Ms. Cynthia Wiltz to talk a little bit about the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, where students can go from student to CEO. I was very blessed to be able to be a presenter several years back when I was still doing talk radio, and this is an exceptionally bright group of kids each year, and I did judge one of the ending competitions one year, and it's just a wonderful program. So she wanted me to mention a few things. It teaches students everything they need to know how to start their own business, starting them with deciding what their business will be. Some of them are service-based businesses, some are nonprofits, and some are for sale of products. They teach how to determine cost of goods, where to buy the products they need to make their products, how to manage their money, how to write a business plan, etc., dress for success, and how to make a presentation. It culminates with the students pitching their ideas to a real investor panel. It's similar to Shark Tank. All students are awarded money, but only to be used to start their business. Students receive $1,000 to $2,000, depending on the businesses the investors believe have the most opportunity to be successful. This program is available to students in 6th through 12th grade who live in St. Tammany and Tammany parishes. They follow the school calendar year. It begins October 26. It's extended the starting date due to disruptions because of Ida, and it's going to end May 3rd with their graduation. On school holidays, the program takes the same holiday. So whether or not the student launches their business, the knowledge they gain from the class is knowledge that they will apply to their lives and careers as they mature. The cost is $250 per student, and there are scholarships available for those who aren't able to pay. And again, I got a chance to have a firsthand look at this, and I was so excited about being one of their presenters a few years back. It's a very impressive program. If you're interested in information, we have some flyers available here.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. And yes, I think Mr. LaSalle is involved in that, if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
is the founder and the licensee.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much, and you're correct. Very well deserved. Councilman Mike Smith asked for personal privilege also. Mike?
Fellow council members, I'm informing the council tonight I'm exploring a moratorium prohibiting Tammany Utilities East from expanding their operations and services until such time as they have enacted substantial changes in management practices, technical operation, and consultant recommended updates. These recommendations are noted in the Owen & White Independent Consultants Report. This report, which was delivered to the administration in late August, is a detailed analysis of past and present deficiencies in operations and equipment. Although administration has taken some steps, such as agreeing to and funding the consultant's report, made commitments to physical improvements in the system, and embarked on an ongoing search for a new director, the report makes it clear that there is still a long path ahead. Indeed, customers of the utility continue to complain about skin rashes, discolored water, sediments in the water, and the possibility of contamination in the water. Until Tammany Utilities East finishes making improvements, extending and expanding this system in any way would only divert attention and resources needed for upgrading Tammany Utilities East. Accordingly, this moratorium would also exist until a new permanent director has been hired and is on the job. A published schedule for major improvements for the system is in place. Communication of operations between the utility and customers is improved, and customers are satisfied with the water quality provided by the system. Finally, in an abundance of caution, the administration should order a chlorine burn to purify the system, which the Owen & White report states TU East can perform easily and safely. Lastly, I will call on administration to place the preliminary report from Owen & White on the internet for the public to access for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. And I'm sure you'll prepare that in writing for one of our meetings. We'll do that. Also, on the discussion of Tammany Utilities, I'm going to get with Ms. Gina Hayes, and Gina will set up a meeting maybe in a week or so when after you have a good chance to speak to Mr. Randy on that. So I'll get with you and we'll pick a date, okay? Thank you. Is any other discussion on that? Okay. Mr. Cooper? President Cooper?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate Mr. Councilman Mike Smith advising the council these recommendations. We do have a copy of the draft report. It is a draft report, as we get with other recommendations and reports for other studies. We met recently with Mr. Hollis of Owen & White, the third-party consultant who is finalizing the report. We do not have final recommendations. It is a draft. Once we receive the final report, we do have intention to share it with the public, to share it with the press, to share it with the council, and delineate how we're going to address the deficiencies that are there. But it is a draft report and recommendations. We're reviewing the recommendation, and the consultant is going to finalize the report based on his work that he's done over the past several months. So the draft report is in our hands, and it was delivered to some of the council members, and it did get out to the public and to the media. But we're going to get a final report that we can and will live up to the recommendations that are given to us. You can count on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike. And, you're absolutely correct. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a public records request for that report also. Just want to throw that out there. And that's fine. And I know I have spoken to Ms. Hayes and also to you, and when we had this meeting, and I know you've already told me, and I have all the trust is that this report will be the report that was issued. It will not be a redacted copy or anything. And I know that. I just want to throw that out there just to make sure, because I've heard some, nowadays you can say anything on the internet. And so I just wanted to throw that, and looking forward to it, and we'll set that meeting, and we'll move this thing forward.
And signed by an engineer based on his recommendations.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Okay. All right. Seeing nothing else, what I'd like to do is ask the council if we could go to the off-the-floor items that we have. We have a couple, and I'd like to open up the vote to open up the off-the-floor. Motion by Mr. Taladano, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, what I'd like to do first, we're honored tonight to have St. Tammany Parish DA, Mr. Warren Montgomery, and his staff here. Mr. Montgomery, I think we have one for you, sir. I'm going to read in a minute. Would you come on up? I'm going to go to ordinance calendar number 2, ordinance to amend the 2021 operating budget, amendment number 11. I think, Ms. Long, that is the DA request.
That's correct.
Okay, would you read it for me, please?
Yes, sir. This off-the-floor item is to amend the general fund budget to increase it by $780,000 to fund 2 agencies, primarily the district attorney's office due to reduced shortfall in revenue for fines, and that is for $718,961. And then also for the City Court of East St. Tammany for $62,000 for our state mandated share of expenses for that agency.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Montgomery, welcome again, as I said, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you, members of the council, for permitting me to speak. And I want to echo what has previously been said, and thank all of you for your sincere and heartfelt and well-spoken comments about Steve Stefancik. That was beautiful, beautiful statements. So thank you very much. I'm here before you this evening about the DA budget for 2021. And as I had mentioned in a previous meeting with the chairman and the chairman of the Finance Committee and the parish president and members of his staff, when I first came into office, actually prior to coming into office 6 years ago, at the beginning of my first term, we had performed a kind of an analysis of the previous administration. And the previous administration had, on a somewhat of a regular basis, come in and in various ways had a change in their budget every year, or almost every year. And I made a kind of a vow to myself that we weren't going to do that under the Montgomery administration, that we were going to come in and whatever the budget was, we were going to live within that budget, because I didn't want to have to come in and ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to amend my budget. I thought that was poor planning and a poor way to administer a business, and I thought the people deserved more than that. And so that was my goal. And for every year of the first 6 years that I came into office, not only did I not have to come before you and ask you for an amendment to increase or to give me additional funds, but in fact, I returned money in the sense that I came in under budget every year. And for those 6 years, it amounted to about overall for those 6 years, $1.2 million, in which I returned unspent budgeted money. Unfortunately, when you make those vows, you don't foresee circumstances that change. And I did not foresee that we would have a shutdown of the court system as a result of COVID. Not only did I not foresee that, but of course I didn't have control of it. So in March of 2020, by order of the governor, our court system, by the Supreme Court of the state of Louisiana, our court system shut down. And we tried to start it up again this year with kind of fits and starts. And then in June and July, really July, we had more trials and the court system kind of got back going, and then it had to shut down again with the fourth wave. And we are hopeful, we anticipate that it will begin in the month of October, later on in the month of October, but we can't be certain of that. But the net effect of that was that in 2020, my office collected over $500,000 less in court fines and fees, which went to my office to maintain my expenses. And I was hopeful that, frankly, that this year, that the court system would get going back earlier. And so when I submitted my budget, I submitted it hoping that, last year I was able to kind of maneuver things and kick the can down the road, so to speak. We made some cuts, which on an annualized basis equal to about $200,000 in my budget, but they weren't sufficient. The court system were closed again, and largely they're closed even in this month for criminal jury trials. So I've had a continued shortfall. And we calculated that, and in a meeting with some of the council representatives and with the parish president, we estimated that shortfall amounted to $718,960. And so I'm here today doing what I vowed that I would never do, and that is to ask for an increase in my budget because my income has decreased in an amount even greater than that. And this amount, the $718,960, represents the reasonable and necessary expenses which the parish, by law, under the Reed versus Washington decision, is obligated to pay. So I'm sorry that I'm here, but these are all reasonable and necessary expenses in order for me to finish out this year. And to not be here, to not ask for this money, would put the district attorney's office in a negative situation, which would not be helpful to the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. So I'm asking you to please unanimously approve that amendment to my budget. Thank you.
Mr. Montgomery, thank you very much. And yes, you're absolutely correct. This is the first time that I've seen you here, and everybody runs into something every now and then.
I hope I'm never here again for that reason.
Well, we're going to get to that in just one second. But
Yes, sir.
I do too. But the bottom line is I understand what you need. And if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Long, we have funds 718 or 780,000 that we can move over, and for this year, 2021. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're in support of this budget, and I know the administration is also. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, I mean, that's very good there, Warren, but the key word there was 2021. The optimal word is 2022. In 2022, as you said over there, you heard Ms. Long describe the budget that this council is looking at the present time. And I also heard what you just mentioned about the mandated cost, and we are going to have an issue there that we have to work through pretty soon. We're not going to go into it right now, but that's going to be something that we're going to look at. So as far as I'm concerned, for my vote this year, is we have the money in the bank where it can be moved. It's 2021, and we're going to have to take a hard, long look at 2022 with the current budget that I have sitting here to the left of me. So I just want to say that's my opinion. And then the last thing I'm going to say, you and I discussed this, I would hope one day, whether it's 2022, 2023, that the DA would go out and ask the public to let you have your own budget and stand up alone on your budget, because as I mentioned, you come here, I respect you, and if you ask me you need a computer, I understand that. But I don't think that's something that the council should be dealing with. I think the DA should have his own budget, whether it's you, whoever, when he goes out for an election, he stands up, I did this, I did that, and not just, I hate to say it, but it is what it is, carte blanche to come to the council. So, and I know you and I discussed that. So
Yes, sir.
thank you very much, sir. And I'm going to say it again, you're doing a wonderful job, and I personally thank you, especially what they just said with the kids. You should be very proud, and for your staff to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am proud of my staff. And
Yes,
I'm glad,
sir.
happy
Mr.
for the work that
Toledano.
we do in serving the community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Reno, thank you very much. At the appropriate time, I would move for the introduction of this, but let me just point out a couple of things. Mr. Montgomery and I have met and discussed this matter, and I am convinced that there is legitimate need on his part, and I'm convinced that they did make some cuts in the office in anticipation of this shortfall, which was prudent of them, but it didn't meet the real needs. So I think as far as appropriate, the answer is yes. What I would, and have discussed briefly with Ms. Long, is the opportunity we might have either through the Rescue Act or the CARES Act to perhaps get a reimbursement for these expenses, i.e. particularly the $718,000. And I would ask Ms. Long to speak to that if you don't mind.
Councilman Toledano is correct. He called me and asked me to make sure that we explore any opportunity for a reimbursement of costs. And that's certainly what we'll do. We'll take a look and see if there's any sort of federal funding or something like that that would be available to replace or fund these expenditures.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think there's a good valid argument there. So, Mr. Reno, if it's appropriate, I'd move for the introduction.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote. Oh, I'm sorry. You got Jake on here? I don't see Jake.
Yeah, I just briefly, is there a way to say exactly where this money is coming from? I know you said it's moving around. Is there maybe just a little bit of a brief description on that?
It's coming from the general fund balance. So an available balance in the general fund. So we're using part of our fund balance. We're dipping into our fund balance to fund this. And this has been accounted for so that you would recognize it. We've already accounted for it in the 2022 budget that we presented to you for the beginning fund balance has been adjusted by this in the event that you did adopt it in November.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, TJ.
Yes, I understand Mr. Toledano's observation and request for a reimbursement if it is so we're able to do so, and you're going to research that out. But I just want for the record to let it be known that we would certainly not be in favor of those reimbursements coming from any other funds that may be already allocated for services to people in the community, for instance, CDBG and the like, that we definitely not consider removing any funds from those particular pots of money.
And I'm not aware of an eligibility under the CDBG program. So, but like I said, anything that we would do would have to come back before this council if we were to find other funding sources for this. So that would come back to you.
Thank you. And because I heard the word CARES Act, and I know that a lot of those funds were dedicated for certain obligations and specifically outlined, but I just want to make sure that we don't get into the business of moving funds from one pot that will impact one part of the community and help to serve another.
Right, and that's why we're recommending that the appropriate use of general fund dollars here is for not only from a timeliness perspective, because the need is now, and also that we have the available funds to do that. And as DA Montgomery alluded to with regard to our mandate to fund reasonable costs of his office.
To make sure I'm understood, I have no problem with the general fund transition.
Yes, sir.
But we're talking about the other reimbursement funds.
I'm just going to explore any opportunity there is for maybe some expenditures of judicial expenditures. I don't believe that the CARES Act funding, has actually, that particular funding has actually, the timeline has expired, and we've made our claims under that, unless they come out with a new source of fund, a new pot of funds there. But I'm not familiar with anything in the CARES Act that would cover this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Ms. Long.
Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Long, I do understand the need
Yes, sir.
For the $718,000 now. It's an
Yes, sir.
immediate need. I understand that, and I believe it, okay? As it pertains to what the chairman loosely referred to as 2022, and I'm not going to get in more than we need to on that. But to be clear, and so that we all understand, this 718, which we're going to apply to this current need, and I'm supportive of that, but it is going to diminish what's in the general fund for 2022.
That's correct. It did diminish what was available to fund 2022.
And one last question, and I'm sure, knowing you, that you've already accounted for that by removing this 718, assuming we approve it,
Yes, sir.
and taking it out of what you are projecting for 2022.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. Ms. Tanner?
Yes, sir. Mr. Montgomery, you stated that over 6 years you had probably given back to the parish or not spent $1.2 million.
That's correct. That's my understanding. Yes,
That-
ma'am.
Leslie, would you probably agree with that? There was a savings along the line?
I do know that over the years, the district attorney's office has not fully spent their budget. I do not know if it was
Right.
$1.2 million.
And if they do not spend their budget, it goes to the fund balance, correct?
That's correct.
So he is asking for money that he did not spend in past years for this year, correct?
He's asking for money from, the only funding that I have is the fund balance. That's correct.
Right, but he contributed to the fund balance over the past 6 years.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, Ms. Long.
Yes, sir.
I believe that there's a need for this, obviously, for the DA's office and that, but when we start talking about this CARES Act and all this kind of stuff about trying to get more money back in, if we supply the money now out of the general fund, and we go after money out of the CARES Act or whatever type of federal act we're trying to get money out of, will it also be given to the DA? Because they won't be able to supply it back to our general fund, right?
Only if we are able to have an expenditure criteria that is for beginning in October 2021, if the eligibility period
Gotcha.
is for this period of time. Because
So-
these expenses are for October through December.
Gotcha. So if it's clearly stated that this money was definitely needed for the DAs, then that money, if we do receive it from these other acts, we could use it to put it back into the general fund.
Correct. What we would actually do is take the expenditures that we were going to record in the general fund, record them in that grant were we to receive one. Very short timeline here. So, I mean, to be
Gotcha.
perfectly honest with you, the chances of getting that sort of funding
Right.
is very slim, I guess.
Okay, but
Because
at least
I would-
though, if
yeah.
if we do get it, I just want to
Yes,
make sure
sir.
we can
Yes, we
receive
would
it.
we would actually record the eligible expenditures under the grant, and they would not appear in the general fund, so then, in essence, you wouldn't spend the fund balance.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mr. Dean?
Vice Chairman, I just have I guess a statement and kind of a question for the district attorney. Theoretically, that $500,000 is tied to, in other words, this is a real crude way of saying it, but there've already been people who've been arrested and who are waiting on court. And so eventually, in a year and a half or so, all of this money's all those fines that you're missing are going to be coming back into your fund, and theoretically, then you could go ahead and pay this $700,000 back. Does that make sense?
I understand exactly what I think I understand exactly what, in theory, that is correct.
Because we didn't, I mean, just because COVID happened, well, maybe so, but just because COVID happened, people didn't stop being bad.
Yeah.
So, and breaking the law.
No, no, that's correct.
So they're still out there.
Unfortunately, people have not deterred, they have not been completely obedient with the law, and in fact, our dockets, meaning the number of cases that are pending, have gone way up. And in fact, because those dockets are way up, and there are fewer people being kept in jail because of this whole COVID situation, that may be adding, and this is getting a little bit off subject, but to the increase in crime that we're experiencing. So we're going to have hopefully increased income in the future and maybe some increased expenses because is the chairman, as the chairman, once the ship has a certain direction, just when you take your foot off the gas, so to speak, that doesn't mean it slows down automatically. So I was able to make some cuts, but about 80% or more of my budget is staff. And I wasn't able, first off, we didn't anticipate the COVID situation to last for now, is it 18 months, a year and a half? It could last longer. We didn't anticipate that. So we didn't go in, in April after COVID hit and said, let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have to lay off a bunch of people. We didn't do that. We started making incremental changes. In retrospect, we might have done some things differently if we knew it was going to last 18 months, but we didn't. And hopefully, yes, that money will come back in.
That money come back to us.
That would be wonderful.
Okay.
And as I said, I have reduced expenses, so not only should that money come back to me, but if I have reduced expenses, I should even have a greater margin of savings, just like I was able to give back in these past years. I may have a greater margin of savings, which I'm happy to do. But it would be irresponsible of me at this time, given the freeboard or the lack of freeboard that I have of income versus expenses. It'd be irresponsible for me not to come today and say, ladies and gentlemen, I need this money between now and the end of the year. Because otherwise I could be in a really dire financial circumstance, and that would not be good for our community.
Okay.
Hopefully that happens, just what you said.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, Mr. Montgomery, one
Yes, sir.
final question, and we unfortunately or fortunately don't get a chance to get into the real detail that some of our leadership does, and when you're having these negotiations, so I'm kind of forced to ask these questions now. And when I look at the spreadsheet on the breakdown of this $718,000, the largest portion of it seems to be allocated to salaries and benefits, and in that represents about 66% of the total amount that's being requested. Question is, in those salaries and benefits, is that new employees brought on, or is that include raises for the fiscal year?
I'm gonna ask Tony Sanders, because I don't want to give you any inaccurate information. I think he can be more precise in a response to that question. I can tell you that we have not increased our staff, and in fact, we have 4 positions that are unfilled, and we don't plan to fill. That's where I got the $200,000 in annual savings. So I know we're down by 4 positions that we otherwise were authorized, but I'm going to ask Tony to respond to your question.
I'm just going to ask you to repeat the question to make sure I understand it completely.
Yeah, of that, I think it looks like a revision of $479,000, the additions to the employee benefits.
Yeah, benefits and
salaries.
Right.
Of that, what he said, none of it is because of new hires.
No.
So are we to assume that this is for raises?
No, it's not for raises either.
Could you explain?
Yeah, it's actually a little more complex, and Ms. Longan probably would correct me if I get in the weeds the wrong way. We'd actually done a first budget amendment to take care of a shortfall in the budget because the district attorney's retirement contribution went up significantly from 0% to like 7% or 1% to 7%.
I'm sorry, I'm having a problem understanding you. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. One of our benefit expenses.
Come a little closer to the mic,
Okay.
Tony. Thank you, sir.
One of our benefit expenses increased substantially in July of this year. We actually submitted an earlier budget amendment requesting an increase for that amount. That first amendment is covered in the second amendment as well. Second of all, the money that we're actually asking for is to cover the existing payrolls that we have to the end of the year. There are no raises involved in that between this time. There are no anything. Having said that, I cannot tell you that we may not, in a competitive environment, have to give an individual a raise, but if we do that, it will stay within the budget amount that you've overall given us to spend. In other words, I'm not going to tell you that if some employee gets an offer that's a really valuable employee
it cost us, an employer on average for a clerical person, $28,000 to replace an employee. For an ADA, it's even more expensive than that. So, you're not very smart to allow an ADA to go away that's getting hired by another district attorney's office that's a really good prosecutor, because they're hard to find. So I can't tell you we're never going to give anybody a raise, but none of the money that we have in this amount budgets a raise.
Thank you.
Okay, is that a
Thank
fair
you.
statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clears it
Thank
up.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much, Tony. Okay, we had a motion and a second. Thank you, Mr. Warren. That's all we needed. And once again, thank you for doing a great job. Council appreciate it, administration, and the citizens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll go to number 1, presentation by the Levy Board. Ms. Krieger? If you don't mind, ma'am, we're going to try to get this in 15 minutes, please.
I'm going to try.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of you for allowing me to come and share some educational information about our levy board and what we're doing and where we're going in the future. So we were created in 2014 by the Louisiana State Legislative Session. We're a 9-member volunteer board, and we represent Madisonville, Covington, Lacombe, Slidell, and unincorporated St. Tammany Parish within the coastal zone. We are a political subdivision of the state of Louisiana, and our jurisdiction is the St. Tammany Parish Coastal Zone, which is basically I-12 and I-10 and below, south of there. Our primary mission is to establish, construct, maintain, and operate flood control projects, including levees, pump stations, floodgates, and other facilities related to hurricane protection, tidewater flooding, and saltwater intrusion, along with conservation. So what have we accomplished? Well, I got to tell you, it is really through the support of all of you and our parish president and our DA, Warren Montgomery. He has just left, but he is our legal counsel, that we've also been able to work with the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority, known as CPRA, and our state North Shore legislative delegation, and our congressional delegation in Washington, D.C. All of these partners has helped us to develop a comprehensive flood protection system for St. Tammany Parish and to reduce the flood risk that is threatening our parish. And we're going to do this with multiple lines of defense. But unlike other levee districts that were created in prior to 2006, our levee board, and there are about 8 of us, that do not have any steady stream of revenue to support our operations. It's like going into a fight. I use this analogy in the Senate Transportation Committee. You're going into this fight. It's a big fight. It's very important, and you have your hands tied behind your back. And so how can you build a system if you can't operate and maintain it? We have a constitutional amendment, number 3, on the ballot. It's a statewide ballot, and it would allow levee districts like us that are created after 2006 to, if the voters approve the amendment, to levy an annual property millage tax of up to 5 mills. That constitutional amendment, number 3, is on the November 13th ballot. And early voting begins October 30th, and it goes through November 6th, and that excludes Sunday, and it's from 8:30 to 6. So you might ask, how would the passage of this amendment number 3 impact the status of our levee board? Well, a yes vote on the constitutional amendment number 3 would provide authorization for us to levy an annual property tax of up to 5 mills. And in support of its mission to provide comprehensive flood protection for our district. So who would be subject to the tax? It would only be the residents of St. Tammany Parish that are within our coastal zone. But it's going to take every resident in St. Tammany Parish, we have to get a simple majority. The parish itself, where the levy board resides and operates, has got to approve it, and it also has to be approved throughout the state because it is a constitutional amendment. The Levy Board Association sponsored this amendment. I hadn't anticipated doing this soon, but the great news is we are in a real race against time to provide this flood protection, and we really go through a terrible time every summer, waiting and waiting. Are we going to get hit with the big storm? How much damage is it going to be? And how much is it going to impact our coastline? So this will put us off to the races, so to speak, and it would allow us to continue the planning and the design of the proposed flood protection system and acquire existing levees that are already there and flood protection facilities. And then we could construct the new protection systems that include the levees and the pumps, closure gates, and other facilities where they're needed. But we really need this money because we can't bring down the funding that we have acquired that is out there if we can't prove that we can operate and maintain it. No one can do this unless they can operate and maintain what they build. So this would allow us to also provide the local required match for capital outlay projects and federal grants. And they're out there, and we're accumulating more and more grant money every day. Grant money for hurricane protection, for tidewater flooding, for salt water intrusion and conservation to protect our parish. So currently, we have $141 million in state and federal funding that is in progress. We have accumulated this in about 18 months. I mean, that is a pretty good amount, and we've had a great team effort, with our partners, with all of you, with our parish president, with our engineering team, the legislative delegation, our congressional delegation. And then we have the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, $3 million, 3-year, 3 levels of administration study underway. And so this is proposing a $4 billion combined structural flood protection system and non-structural system for our parish. For this project to proceed, a local sponsor is required to operate and maintain this constructed flood protection system. With proper funding, we can do that, and we can serve as that local sponsor for operation and maintaining these levees, pump stations, flood walls, closure structures. We're already in the begin design phase of all of that right now. So on behalf of all of our commissioners, I just want to say thank you for helping us get to this point and giving me the opportunity to come this evening and share this educational information so everybody will make a good decision.
Thank you, Ms. Krieger, and once again, I want to thank you personally for the job you're doing. You've taken that job, and you've really been going for the last couple of years. And
thank you.
I know it's a tough deal, but so on behalf of the council, I just want to say thank you, and we'll all take a look at it. Mr. Mike Smith?
That Ms. Krieger's been everywhere. She's been in every meeting you can possibly think of and reaching out to everybody she can possibly reach to educate them on this and try and get out the vote.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Smith. Thank you,
Have a great
Chairman.
evening. Thank you for coming. Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Glenn and Barry, on behalf of Neil Schaefer. I want to reiterate that the election and the proposition number 3, the constitutional amendment number 3, that if approved and gives the authority of a local levy district to impose up to 5 mills, that is not automatic to the levy board. They will have the opportunity to have public hearings and meetings and a vote before offering any type of millage up to 5 mills to impose. So this is just the first step that would give them that opportunity. It's not an automatic 5 mil if a positive vote is made on November 13th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Okay, we'll go to number 3, ordinance to amend the 2021 operating budget, amendment number 12. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. Actually, item number 3 and number 4 are the same project. It is to amend the budget for Tammany Utilities for our utility operations fund by $900,000 to fund, and if you look at the second ordinance, it's to fund the, West St. Tammany wastewater treatment plant project, which the bids came in last week, and this is so that we can accept that bid.
Okay. All righty. And so number 3 and 4 are the same, are the same.
Number 3 identifies the funding at $900,000, and number 4 identifies the project West St. Tammany wastewater treatment plant, an increase in that project budget of $900,000.
Okay. All righty, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Taladano, you have any questions?
No questions. I move for the introduction of item number 3 on the agenda, specifically the amendment.
Okay, we have a...
I didn't realize.
That's
I didn't
okay.
see Mr.
That's
Tanners.
okay. That's okay. Ms. Tanner?
Leslie, you said that the bids came in last week?
I think on, wasn't long ago, yeah, about maybe a week and a half.
So what, shouldn't this have been in the budget beforehand, or?
So if you look at the budget, the total budget was, we currently have budgeted $7,350,000, and we're increasing it by $900,000 to accept the bid and provide for a contingency for a total project budget of $8,250,000.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we had a motion by Mr. Taladano. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question for Ms.
Yes, sir.
Long. Leslie, just for informational purposes, I'm sure this is needed, but where did the thought or the idea for this, how did it originate, is my only question.
The origination of the budget amendment?
Yes.
Or, okay.
No.
Oh.
Project.
The project?
Right, the need for it, where did it originate?
I think if Tim Brown is here, or someone from the utility operations, or Mr. Bob. I mean, it has been in the budget for quite a while, I can
That's
tell you
fine.
that much, because I know it's been in design, and about, I guess, I'm trying to think how long ago it was, we budgeted, I remember, $6.6 million towards the
Okay.
construction portion of this, and the bids came in at 7.1,
So you answered my question, and let me just tell you,
Oh.
so I'm in support, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's an internal design that came up with the need. I mean, it either is or it isn't. Did we hire somebody from the outside?
No, I'm
Jay's
sure
shaking his head.
Did. I'm sorry.
I mean, go ahead, I would say we certainly,
Franklin Cowell
yeah.
Associates is the engineer for this project.
Okay.
This is an ongoing project.
Yeah.
There was an estimate for
Okay.
the project, and the bids came in over the estimate. So like we've done in other projects, we're asking for an amendment to put
Thank
the
you.
additional money.
Thank you
Councilman.
very much.
Yes,
Got
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the answer.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. Ms. Tanner?
Okay, you said that this came in over the estimate?
Yes.
What was the estimate?
The estimate for the construction was $6.4 million with a 15% contingency. And so the estimate was $6.4 million. We had 6.6 budgeted. It came in at 7.1. This is the construction portion of it. There's, in this budget additionally was the design, construction management, resident inspection, property acquisition.
Okay.
Does that So that's why I think it's over $500,000. And then the engineers met, I asked them to meet because they needed to budget also for contingency in the event there is a change order so that, and the budget, I think the contingency is, I think it's less than 10% is what the contingency was.
The contingency was 15.
On the, that's what they had put in originally on the first, original budget estimate.
But the recommended project budget from them was 7.5.
Okay, so let's see. There was 2 years ago, whenever this originally was budgeted, the estimate with a contingency was $6.6 million. The recent opinion of probable cost from the engineer, I think that's Kyle and Associates, was $6.4 million for construction and then they added to their probable cost a 15% contingency, which brought it to the 7 point something 5, and the bids came in at 7.1.
Okay, I guess I'm not understanding this because I see where in 2019, they recommended the project at 7.2, and then that, they took another look at it in 21, and they recommended 7.5. So that tells me that what they recommended was not in the budget, correct?
I did not have the 7.2. I had 6.6. Was the original budget that was given for construction. Now, I don't know, the construction estimate, you're looking at construction estimate or a budget that maybe we presented to the council?
I'm looking at a construction with a contingency and probable construction cost. Recommended project budget in 2019 was 7.2. A revision was made to look at it again in July 2021, and it was recommended project budget was 7.5 million.
That's the one with the 6.4 construction and a 15% contingency?
Right.
Okay. I mean, I remember the 6.44.
Which brought it up to 7.4.
5, okay, or 4.
And I guess my question is, if the engineer came in with an estimate of 7.5, why was,
On July 30th, is that correct, I think?
why was a lower,
Yes.
why was the budget approved at a lower amount?
So the budget that was approved, I think you said in 2019, correct, or before? Let me see what the project number is. If I can find the project number, it tells you the year that it was budgeted.
I'm looking at one at February 25th, 2019, recommended project budget, 7.25.
And that was for construction only.
Probable cost.
I have not seen that opinion of probable cost. I saw the one for the 7.5 that you were just talking about dated July 30th, 2021. It was, I saw that within the last week or two.
Yeah.
Attached in the procurement file.
Okay, I guess my question is, if you're going to ask an engineer to look at a project and give a recommended budget, why are you not budgeting that before it goes out to bid? Just timing, or?
I think in this case, that the opinion of probable cost was provided on July 30th, and it should have been probably a budget amendment done at that time.
Okay.
Or at least like July 30th would have been a September budget, just based on timing.
Okay.
If it was July 30th, August meeting was a couple days later, so it probably would have been introduced for September at the earliest date.
I'm just wondering, if you're putting in budgets that they're going to come in at more.
It only delays accepting the project.
Hmm?
It would delay accepting the project, correct?
Okay.
Or possibly not. If the council were not to increase the budget, then we might not be able to accept that bid.
Okay. All right. I'll move to accept the.
Okay, we had a motion by Mr. Talabano, a second by Ms. Tanner. Mr. Canulat.
Yeah, so do we have anyone here?
Yes.
For the sewer and water for the
No.
Tammany's people? Tammany's. So, I'm kind of like with Ms. Tanner over here. We said we budgeted 6.6, but they recommended 7.1, 7.2. And I'll be just honest with y'all on this one. After looking at the recommendations from the report of the first one, the thought of moving forward, spending that kind of money, like, so one of my questions is this going to be able to be interchangeable or compatible with some of the other sewer plants of Utility West that we have already in existence? And there's no, you can't answer it because there's no one here to answer it. So in other words, like interchangeable pumps, are we going to have the same kind of pumps for the Utilities West? Because like we just kind of piecemeal everything. We have different pieces everywhere, and it costs more and more and more. I'm just trying to see if y'all can give me some input. Is this, you know, is this $7.1 million, is this just going to be able to do one thing, or is it going to be able to help with the other parts of the parish?
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that
Sure.
Mr. Chris Natterson with Franklin Collins Associates,
Sure.
who's
Absolutely.
representing the design of the plant, to answer those questions.
Sure. Thank you.
Good evening, Chris.
Thank you. Chris Natterson with Cowell Associates. Thank you for having me. Specifically to your question, Councilman, the equipment that's in the project is, obviously, it's a public bid. So the project itself was an expansion to West St. Tammany Wastewater Treatment Plant to handle, and this project was actually done under the previous administration, put on hold, an effort to consolidate and send flow to a different facility was looked at for a period of time. Then they decided to come back to the project. It was shelved, sort of, decided to come back to the project for bid. The project is to increase the flow from 500,000 gallons to 1.25 million gallons, 750,000 gallon increase to the plant per day, increase to the plant, with also some other parts of the project, increasing effluent station and so forth. So the equipment that was bid in the project, obviously it comes in whatever the bid and following the state bid laws. I don't know whether it's going to be interchangeable with some of the other equipment, maybe at some of the other facilities. You know, we're involved in an expansion design at Crossgates as we speak. When that comes out to bid, you know, it's what we put in there for the plant, and contractors submit a bid with whatever equipment they get based on the prices that they get. So I can't answer the question whether it's going to be the same. I do know that Tammany Utilities recently installed a piece of equipment at a Castine plant. This particular type of equipment is also going in on this particular plant, so I do know there's some similarities to some of the equipment that is being used on projects we had been involved in before. But that's all I can answer. That's the only thing I can have.
Okay, thank you.
To answer some questions about that opinion of probable construction costs that was submitted, when the Tammany Utilities decided to bid this project, we were asked by the current interim director to provide a updated opinion of probable construction costs, which is the one that was being referred to in July of this year. And that was because of, obviously, the increase of costs from COVID items on many parts, all different parts of the material in the project. And that's why the budget had come up from the February of 2019 to the budget that was recommended in July of this year. That helped clear that up as well.
Yeah, thank you. That helps.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. Can you come back up to the podium, please? Jimmy Davis over here. So this is just for the construction of a renovation, is what it is.
It's an expansion to the West St. Tammany Wastewater
Okay.
Treatment Plant. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not construction cost of a new plant.
There is a new facility going in there. Yes, sir.
Oh, so
it's expanding. So
Okay, so it's not a complete brand-new facility, it's just a new portion that's going to.
that is
to the
correct.
expansion.
New process train
Thank
at
you.
the facility. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing nothing else, we had a motion and a second. Thank you. Okay, okay,
Just,
good. I need to look at that one. Let me see it, Thank you, babe. All right, that was number 3. We'll go to number 4, ordinance to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 65. That's, Ms. Long, the same thing, so.
yes, sir, this is naming
Okay.
the project
That's
where
correct.
those funds will be allocated.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move to introduce.
Motion by Mr. Taladano, second by Ms. Tanner. Thank you. Okay, that should take care of off the floor items. Let's go to the original, well, I'm going to take one. Is Mr. Jay Watson here? Or did Jay leave? Jay, would you come up? I'm going to ask you to come up for a second, sir. While we're on this, I might as well do it all at one time. Good evening, Jay.
Yes, sir.
First off, I want to thank you and your group, for the job you're doing with the debris pickup, okay? It's a massive undertaking, and I know all of us understand that, but all of us are receiving phone calls why he's picking up at Jerry's all the time instead of mine, okay? That's the call I got today. And I said he's vice chair, so that took care of that. But anyway, the bottom line is, that's the problem.
I understand.
Okay? And I know that's not you, okay? So I guess what I'd like you to do is just explain how this is operating so that the people can hear it, Ms. Pagonis could hear it, and that way we can get it out, and it may answer a lot of questions.
Sure. So we started the debris pickup after we completed the push. I think September 8th was our first day for pickup to start, which now we're October 7th. So we're just about 1 month in. This afternoon, I think we're now up to 550,000 cubic yards of debris that the parish has picked up. That's not including any of the municipalities or DOTD. That's strictly the parish's contractor on our streets. We've been working with a grid system. I think they've got a grid that they've made up 56 rectangular grids. They cover about 18 square miles each, and they have their debris haulers in those grids. We've got, I believe, over 80 trucks running right now. They run 7 days a week. They're trying to spread out and efficiently pick up. We've got 6 different debris sites throughout the parish, from Slidell to Lacombe to Covington, Mandeville, up to Folsom. So we've got the trucks distributed in a grid pattern throughout the parish, going to these different sites. And each day they move and focus on the next area that they're in, a lot of times staying within the same grid, because an 18 square mile grid does take a while to pick up. And we get a lot of questions as well. We've fielded them at our office on the daily basis. People would like a schedule. It's just really something that's it's unattainable to do. As soon as we put out a schedule, we'd have to revise the schedule due to traffic, due to weather, due to utilities that are down, a number of different variables out there every day. So we try to put out a daily update. Most times it is a daily update. It's not every day, but a daily update of where we've been, how much we've picked up, and we try not to anticipate where we're going, but we can say where we've been presently and where we are. But due to the fact of so many uncontrolled variables, it's just too hard to say that we're going to be, in Jerry's district or Jerry's subdivision on Wednesday and yours on Thursday, and then
that's okay.
As soon as we're not there, it becomes more problems. So.
Well, thank you, Jay. And there's some questions, but I have a few. And you and I spoke this morning, and I want to thank you. We spoke at great length. One of my questions was, why do we only have 80 trucks? Okay. We should have more than 80 trucks. But you explained to me, it all depends on being able to have the sites to actually put the debris.
Correct.
Okay. I understand that. One of the things that I would ask you, as we look at this project moving forward, I would ask that the parish would go out and have sites designated before a storm arrives, whether we have to pay a retainer fee, whatever we have to do, because, am I correct? I think I am. You told me that our debris pickup contractor was on previous, we didn't hire him right after the storm.
Correct.
You might have had him last year or whatever the case may be. So we had that part of the equation, okay? And what I believe has slowed this process up is getting the debris sites, okay? Because as you rightly said to me, you can't have 80 trucks going to 4 places and standing in line waiting to take the cargo out, okay? So that's something I would hope the administration is going to do. I'll get to you, Ms. Gina. I would hope that is something that we look at, okay? Because we should have more trucks in the field. The second thing is, as I mentioned to you, I believe your grid process should be, if you, on Highway 20, I'm going to use Highway 22 now. If you're on Highway 22, you either start on the 190 side or you start on the Tangipahoa border side. And you move completely straight on up, and now that all gated communities and private communities are there, you should be able to move from one end of Highway 22 completely going down to the other end and picking up, rather than starting one spot and then going down to another spot. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying that has to be. But for some reason, residents are telling me in Lewisburg, they see one truck. Well, one truck can't handle Lewisburg, because that truck has to leave and then be filled up. And the process to fill up a truck is not your fault, that's FEMA's fault, when they have to count every stick that goes in the truck and then count it when it comes out. That's a story for another day. But bottom line is, I think this is a learning experience for everybody. This is my first one. I don't know about the parish president or Miss Gina, but I know it is yours also. So you're doing a great job. I understand it, but we have to do a little bit better in some way, shape, or form in the next. Hopefully, we never have it, but nevertheless.
Well, we'll definitely have learned a lot from this experience, and
yes, sir.
Whenever, if and when it happens,
yes, sir.
We'll have lessons learned.
And once again, I'm saying thank you. Okay,
You're very
Mr.
welcome.
Ms. Hayes.
I just wanted to mention that we did have pre-approved debris sites. The parish does put in for pre-approved debris sites through DEQ long before the storm hits. There were actually 5 were ours. There were 10 within parish boundaries. Some were certified by other jurisdictions. We can all share those debris sites. They all have to be DEQ approved. However, the negotiations to dump in those debris sites, the cost that is associated with dumping, that agreement comes between DRC, who is our contractor, the contractor, and the debris site. Doesn't involve the parish. So that's where the holdup was between the debris site and the debris contractor negotiating for a price to dump debris at their site.
Okay.
And that's something that we're not a party to. So we did everything we could have done ahead of time. There's really nothing else we could have done. It is frustrating, but there's nothing else we could have done with it.
If I listen to what you said, we did hire the person that is negotiating that, right? The price.
We hired
Okay,
the debris
okay, all right.
contractor, and we pre-certified
Gotcha.
5 sites.
Okay, well,
So-
then we should pre-certify for the next storm 15 sites.
Well,
Okay, because the
were-
5 sites that we have now, if that's what we have, and the number of trucks we have, it is too slow to operate.
there were 10, we pre-certified 5 sites, but there were 5 additional sites already pre-approved in the parish by other jurisdictions. We can use each other's sites. So even pre-storm, there were 10 pre-approved sites in St. Tammany that we could have gone to.
Okay.
But that does not mean that debris site, even though they're pre-approved through us or pre-approved through the city of Slidell or the city of Covington, it doesn't mean that debris the site owner has to accept the debris from our contractor.
Okay,
So
well,
it's a negotiation between the contractor and the debris site
well,
owner.
that's what I'm getting at. And the contractor and the debris site and the parish have to figure a way to get together and do that. Because I'm gonna say it again, if we only have 80 trucks out there, that is not enough to do it. And if I'm not mistaken, being to yet, I'm still speaking, they extended the time by 15 days, the full 100%.
Correct,
Okay,
to October
okay,
10th.
Okay. And so therefore, after the 100 days passes, we start coming up with some money.
After the 45 days
Okay,
passes, then we
okay.
come up with 10%.
Okay,
after
so we should be inclined to get as many places as possible, and whoever we hire, because we're hiring someone, that person should be inclined to do it on behalf of the parish. So the parish is part of the issue, because that person is hired by you. And that is what needs to change and to be looked at. That's all. We need to learn from this and get in the room and discuss it at a little greater length.
that.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Taladano.
Jay, just a couple of things. One is, I know all you public works guys are working hard, and I really appreciate it. But have you seen much of this situation? A contractor, a construction contractor, is starting to clear lots, putting that debris out on the road where we have to pay for it, and he's not doing it because of damage. He's doing it to get a free lift of all this material off site. Have you all encountered that very much?
I haven't heard many or any instances of that, but we definitely would be aware to not have that happen.
So what, in other words, a typical truck with that a tandem truck.
Yeah, the tandem debris truck.
Well, how much does that cost somebody, either us or FEMA, to dump it?
I believe the average ticket, so it's a tandem truck, and each truck is individually certified,
Right.
measured, and has its own loads. You're asking how much,
We did roughly.
what is the cost
Yeah.
per load on each truck? I believe it's around $300 to $400.
Okay, all right. I would urge you.
And it all depends on,
Yeah.
they get paid by the cubic yard, so the larger the load, the more they get paid.
I would urge you to tell your field guys in Public Works to just be alert that some contractors aren't using this Hurricane Ida to basically save themselves some money by sort of pretending like it was damaged, but it's really just clearing a lot for construction.
Yeah, I understand, and if you've got any instances in particular that we need to talk about,
Okay,
please let me know.
yeah.
Mr. Mike Smith?
Okay, so while we got you up here, Jay, I'd like to get some stuff out there publicly because we're getting a lot of calls on this, and I'm just going to use my district as an example. So if you're familiar with Magnolia Forest, okay, they get hit hard every time because they've got a lot of trees. Okay, so they've been in, they'll go in and, like you say, they'll work a couple of days, and then some days they'll work somewhere else. But they're picking up the biggest trees in the main streets, and the Cove and some of the other places. They haven't quite gotten into theirs yet. And they're not picking up a lot of the smaller branches, and the explanation is they're leaving them behind. The explanation is they're coming back for another round. This is not the only round that they're going to pick up. They're going to pick up another round of the green debris, and they're going to take up the smaller stuff. Is that your understanding?
Well, they haven't finished the first pass yet.
Yes,
So,
right.
As they go in, I know they have been cleaning in Magnolia Forest, and I
Yeah.
know they're not finished with Magnolia
As an
Forest yet.
example. Yeah, but, okay, so, and they haven't started C&D yet, right?
They're getting on the verge of starting C&D.
Okay, do
but
they
that's
have
gotta
a
be
C-
taken to a
Go ahead.
different site and handled separately from how they handle the green debris.
Okay, and because that's a lot more regulated. The C&D is a lot more regulated than the green debris. Okay, so do we have a C&D? I know they were trying to get one in the east, and then they had some problems or something. Do they have a C&D site? You know, are they certified yet?
The C&D site is certified on Strain Road.
Okay, and I've also had people approach me about they're renting trailers and they're getting chainsaws and they're doing some of this stuff themselves. So, you know, I've been advised that they can take residents, not commercial, but that they can take, do you know that they can take the C&D to some of these dumps themselves, or they can take the green to some of these dumps themselves and pay for it? They're offering to pay for it out of their pocket and do it themselves.
Right, I know they can do it out of their own pocket, but we're not going to be reimbursed through FEMA unless it's our contractors that have all their trucks certified. We've got monitors, I think, just like
They understand that, but it'd be like if you were just to take, you got tired of waiting around, and you decided that you were going to clean up your yard, and your neighbor went in and you got a trailer, and you hauled that somewhere. So do you know that they can do that?
Yeah, that is an option.
Okay, so that's an option for them. Okay. Do you know where they could take the C&D stuff in the east?
I believe maybe Coastal in the east, and then they could take it to Stranco in the west.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jimmy?
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
I know I talk to you about it every day, but anyway, you know, I understand the process of all this scheduling stuff and being a statistical nightmare, okay, for KDC and everything like that. But when you said before about today's actual volumes up to 550 cubic yards, right?
Yes.
Now, I know that you guys made trips around to see exactly how much total coverage you thought you would. How much total cubic yards do you believe is left for wood waste? Rough figure only, but at least it would give people the idea, if it took this long to get 500,000 cubic yards, how long is it going to take to get the rest? And so basically, about what do you think is the total amount of the wood waste that you believe?
We could be looking from 1 million to 1.5 million,
Thank you.
potentially.
That's what I need.
And
to
as
know.
we go forward, we'll be able to
Right.
you know, get a
Good.
more focused estimate.
So it's much more than probably even we anticipated, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Because 1.5 million is a lot.
It is.
Yeah,
It
okay,
is
but thank
a
you.
substantial amount.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jake? Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, you said the C&D site is certified. Is there an agreement between the dump and the contractor on allowing them to put the debris there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's all ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you again about Lakeview Drive, and I know that you don't have much to say on it, but it's a dangerous condition, and I get more emails about that than anything else.
And
so
I understand, I was on the phone with the gentleman, I believe it was yesterday morning, about Lakeview. We've had, the debris haulers were on Lakeview yesterday. They were on there again today. I noticed that they had more piles picked up along Lakeview today, so they are out there.
All right,
They're
thank you,
making
appreciate
progress.
it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jay. And thank everybody. I know you all are stretched thin and running around doing this, plus trying to do all the normal stuff that you have to do. Do you have any sort of, and I know maybe you're still doing all this, but do you have any sort of ETA on when we'll shift back into, obviously we still have to finalize our budgets from our capital accounts and things like that. Is that something we shouldn't even think about doing until next year, or are we on pace to do that maybe next month, or?
No, I mean, I can give you a call tomorrow and we can talk about the capital budgets.
Okay.
They should be pretty well set.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Dan?
Why'd you say it like that? I'm not paranoid.
So I try to be nice to him. See what I get?
Nothing's worse than somebody looking over and saying, you could be doing something better. So I think you're doing a wonderful job. I appreciate the way that you handle it and all that. But I do have just a couple of real rational questions. Why are they in one neighborhood a day, or maybe two, and then they leave and you never see them again? I'm going to use Flower Estates. They went down Flower Estates, went down Xenia about halfway, came back a few days later, several days later, finished Xenia, Azalea, all the other main thoroughfares through there, they haven't been touched. Why, I mean, just,
Well, and
why
I've
do they
been
do
looking
that?
at Flowers Estate in particular, and they have been out there in the last recent weeks or so, and they've made a lot of progress out there.
But where do they go?
Well,
I mean, why don't they finish Flower Estates and go to the next place?
What I can say is I've gone out looking for them, and I've got a portal that shows me by GPS location where they're at. And sometimes I go out and can't find them. If the debris contractor has taken a load out of the subdivision to the debris site, you don't see them. If that's when you go out and look and you see and there's nobody there, it looks like nobody's working, when in fact they are there, and you have to kind of look and know where you're looking for the piles, to see the dead grass, to see and know, man, they have been out here. But that's one possibility.
Well, but what I'm saying is they haven't touched Azalea in 2 weeks. They did Xenia a couple of weeks ago and haven't touched anything else in Flower. I just wanted to know.
I mean, I know they've been
the
working
reasoning behind
in
that.
Flowers Estates, and I see the progress every day. I see more and more coverage in Flowers Estates, so I know
Okay.
they've been out there.
And that's just one neighborhood. But one more question, if I could, or not question, but a statement. Katrina was 15 very short years ago, and that sounds dumb, but it was very short. I have very vivid memories of meeting in the EOC, of the bulletin boards, all that kind of stuff. I remember very specifically. And so when I hear us say that we're learning from this, why didn't we learn from Katrina? I mean, I promise I'm not being judgmental or whatever, but why didn't we learn from Katrina? This has taken a hell of a lot longer, and I don't think we're going to even be through by October the way it's going.
Well, I would have to respectfully disagree that it's taken longer. I think there was more debris, C&D, and vegetative debris in Katrina, but I think the pickup for Katrina is going to be much longer than it is going to be for the Ida storm.
I'd like to see that. I know.
And we went back, we've reviewed with finance invoices from Katrina to see when they were still billing, when we were still picking up. And, to be roughly 30 days into our pickup, we still have a long way to go. But I think we're going to be quicker than Katrina in the pickup.
All right. Thanks.
That Mike.
Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, Jay, I know you're a can-do guy, no doubt about it, and you don't panic. Two big pluses, and I thank you for that, okay? Even in the face of a councilman, you do not panic. That's just a heads up for all of us, okay? Anyway, for the administration, and I do understand that this is your first year as Public Works Director, which, of course, the first time on the ground handling this, okay? For the administration, what our chairman said, I think is very, very important. To have DRC hired by us, right, parish government, and for us to have picked out sites, but then the blank spot is where we really can make up ground, is that then DRC, without us, they get to negotiate with the site location, and the site location gets to negotiate with DRC. Therefore, DRC wants to pay less, and the site location wants to charge more. We need to, and I'm only seconding what the chairman said, we need to insert ourselves, because we will either be the recipients of quick, good negotiations in advance of hurricane season, not when a hurricane hits. Like the chairman said, a retainer, whatever. Or we're going to be the victims because DRC's negotiating with a site, and the site is saying, nope, I'm not going for that. And let me tell you, Marty and I saw this with the Blue Roof program. Baton Rouge company, big company. Yeah, sure. $2.50 a square foot for a blue roof. The middle person got $1.25 of the $2.50. So Shaw kept $1.25. I had 5 roofing contractors who are out of work during Katrina show up at my house while I'm full of my own debris, and they go, Jerry, can you help us? They're only offering us 17 cents a square foot. Imagine, $2.50 from the federal government equals 17 cents a square foot to our local contractors. I don't know, I gotta tell you, in my religion, that's a sin, okay? Now, we can ease the pain, though, by us being the person who says to DRC and the site, we need to do business before the hurricane season, before everybody starts going, yummy. And I'm not picking on anybody, but can we do that next year?
Thank you.
Mike and I have just said yes, everybody in the council saying yes. President Cooper, we can do that next year?
I asked the same question the day after the hurricane. I asked the same question. I certainly did.
Well, good.
The
Thank
first
you.
5 days was the push, and my question was, why could we not have this in advance?
In
We had the
advance of June
contractor in
1st.
advance. We had the site selected, but the negotiation was between,
Yes.
and it's not just DRC, it's
No,
whoever the
no,
contractor.
right,
And the
right.
contractor was selected through an RFQ
Yeah.
last year. We didn't select them, it was done through an evaluation
Mhm.
and selected based on what their capabilities are, and they're a large company, and they do have the capability. We have to realize what impact, and we know what the impact was across our parish. And as Jay said, the amount of green debris, the amount of trees. We're fortunate to have just green debris to worry about at this point, considering all the things we've been through,
Yeah.
how quick we got up, our services, our schools, and everything. So we are fortunate. But yes, it's not a learning experience, but there are things that can be done better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jay, once again, thank you on behalf of the council, and I know the hours you put in, seriously, and thank you, and appreciate it. And Ms. Hayes, thank you. I think we need to look at something, maybe have 2 debris contractors, one for the east, one for the west. You know, we got to look at those things. And this St. Tammany Parish is the 4th largest parish in the state of Louisiana, and we have to start acting like the 4th largest parish and making sure we do some innovative on some of these ideas. So anyway, I know you will. Thank you. Okay. Consent calendar. Any item not pulled from the consent calendar automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A major vote for the entire council aid is required to adopt the consent calendar. As of right now, I have items pulled. I have 35 of them. But I'm just going to read one. Number 1, ordinance calendar number 6786 is the only one that I have, and no resolution. Is there anything you want? Mr. Dean, I'll smile at you and ask you, do you want anything? Mr. Dean, sir.
Thank you for the smile and no thank you.
All righty, I appreciate it. You're a kind gentleman tonight. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Taladano.
No, thank you.
Ms. Tanner.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Should the ordinances with the capital and budget, can they be automatically go to the finance committee for next month? Do we need to pull those to do that?
No, we don't need to, we
Okay.
don't need to pull them. No, ma'am.
No,
Mr.
sir.
Davis.
No, sir.
Mr. Bender?
No, sir.
To the left.
None unless you want another special speaker. No, I'm good.
A special speaker? You want-
Yeah, whoever you want to pick.
Mr. Smith?
No, sir.
Ms. O'Brien?
No, sir.
Mr. Arick?
No.
Mr. TJ?
Nothing to pull. I just have one quick question, if you will.
You go ahead, sir. You've been quiet down there. Go ahead.
Is on the resolutions, administration, is the appointment of the director of procurement, I just want to know, are they here tonight?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Would you like to pull that one and have him, come up and introduce himself?
If you had
Okay.
it on your list.
Sure. Which one was that, sir?
Number 2.
Oh, resolution number 2. I got it. Thank you. Okay. Yep, I am, but wait one second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Roxy, Miss Roxy, are you here, ma'am? Come on up. You need to explain to me which one you want to wanted me to pull, and I'll take care of it, and we'll come back to it. It's not on the card.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Thank
That's
you.
okay, that's okay.
Okay, I think I'm number 13 in the far back. Basically what I'm asking for is, we were here previously and asking for
Okay.
what you call
Okay,
it?
it's an ordinance for adoption, number 13, is that the one? Is that what the one you said?
Yeah, where they're
Okay, if
asking-
that one's,
Oh, I'm sorry, where they're asking for an MHO.
okay, well,
Yeah.
what we'll do, when we get to those, we'll read them, and then you can come up and discuss it when we get to it.
Okay, did I put it on the wrong document? I'm sorry,
Yes,
guys.
ma'am. That's okay.
All right.
That's all right. Thank you, dear. Okay, seeing nothing else, administration, nothing, I would assume, Mike, okay, legal, nothing. Okay, Mr. Bender? Motion for the consent by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. We'll go to number 1, ordinance calendar number 6786, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish, excuse me, Code of Ordinance, Chapter 120, establishing Tammany Community Development District Number 1. This was under Mr. Stefancik. Is a postponed by Mr. Jeff Shane. Is that correct, Jeff? I'm reading on this.
They can give you an explanation.
I have postponed, or,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir. The petition has not been filed yet. It needs to be postponed.
Okay, that's
till
what I thought.
November.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Okay, we have Jeff is asking for a postponement. Is there a motion? Motion by Mr. Jimmy Davis, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. We'll go to resolutions. Resolution number 2 was pulled. Resolution CS number C-6515, resolution to acknowledge and confirm the President's appointment of the Director of Procurement. Mr. Cooper?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I'd like to introduce Mr. Sean Hoover as the Director of Procurement. Sean comes to us. Comes to us from the state of Louisiana. He formerly served in procurement with the state of Louisiana. He's a native of St. Tammany. Went to Fontainebleau High School here in Mandeville area. And we're excited to have Sean on board. I'm going to ask Sean to say a few words as far as other qualifications and experience that he's had. He's already brought new ideas and policies for which we can streamline our procurement process. And we're very excited to have him on board. Sean?
Good evening. I'm Sean Hoover. Was formerly with the Office of State Procurement. Was involved in a lot of policy procedures of writing, statewide contracts, so I'm very knowledgeable with the statewide contracts. I'm also very knowledgeable with dealing with trainings and bringing, more knowledge to the ERP systems. I was a trainer for all the statewide agencies when it came to LGov, the ERP system used by the state. So I'm very knowledgeable with the state laws, both Title 38 and Title 39, and I'm excited to be here. Yes, and I also was a GOSUP lead. I was actually activated during Hurricane Ida. On the other side, I was working with Christina Derry. She's with GOSUP, and on the other side of the Web EOC, I was cutting POs from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, all day long, all across the state of Louisiana. So I have very knowledgeable in the laws, very knowledgeable in bringing the procurement manuals to streamline our processes.
Thank you, Mr. Sean. Mr. Talladano?
Sean, welcome to St. Tammany Parish and the administration. I just want to echo something that you made reference to, but I've been told this over the years. Contractors of all different types have said to me on more than one occasion, y'all need to do something about that procurement department. So I think it's wonderful that you're on board. It's wonderful that President Cooper sought you out with some great experience. I would just urge you to give that a very high priority because you'll do a great service to the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Yes. Is your assistant director here too?
Yes, she is.
Brandy, we'll bring her up.
I was going to acknowledge Randy as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, it's like we have to acknowledge our staff all the time because, I mean, that's, they help us out. I mean, Brandy? Hi. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
That's okay. My name is Brandy Martin, and I've been with St. Tammany Parish government for 9 years. I started off as a buyer, and I've worked my way up to now the Assistant Director of Procurement.
Well, great.
So,
It's good to have a buyer for procurement.
Yes.
Thank you.
But we're very happy to have Sean on board, and we're going to bring procurement to where it needs to be.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
thank y'all.
Oh, we had a motion and a second. Please vote. I did. Benda and Canuet. We didn't.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to appeals. Number one, Jeffrey Valley appealing the zoning commission denial on August 3rd, 2021 to rezone 52.35 acres located on the north side of U.S. Highway 190 east, north of Tranquility Road, Lacombe, from A-2 Suburban District to A-4 Single Family Residential District, Ward 9, District 11. The applicant for this appeal has withdrawn via a letter from the constituent. So do I need a motion in a sec? Oh, okay, so this has been withdrawn. I have someone wishes to speak on it, but I'm gonna say it again, it's withdrawn. It will never come up. It's finished totally. If I can't see the name, Mr. Martin, if you wanted to say something, that's fine, but as I said, it's totally gone. I'm good. Okay, sir, thank you. Okay, let me do, Number two is Jeffrey Valley appealing the zoning commission denial on August 3rd, 2021 to rezone 56.08 acres located on the north side of U.S. Highway 190 East, North Tranquility Road, Lacombe, from A-4 Single Family Residential District to A-4 Single Family Residential District, Highway HC-2 Highway Commercial District, and PUD Plan Unit Development Overlay, Ward 9, District 9, withdrawn via the letter from the constituent also. So both of those appeals, as I mentioned earlier, are totally gone, and it will not be brought back up. Okay? Thank you all for staying, and we appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll go to ordinance for adoption. Okay, hold on 1 second for me. It threw me for a loop. Okay. All right, ordinance for adoption, number one, ordinance calendar number 6762, ordinance authorizing the parish of St. Tammany through the office of the parish president to acquire certain parcel and/or servitude consisting of Honeysuckle Road in Bush, Ward 5, District 6. Ms. Tanner?
I make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 2, ordinance calendar number 6763, ordinance to authorize the St. Tammany Parish government to transfer immovable property to the St. Tammany Parish Coroner's Office and to enter into an associate cooperative endeavor agreement as to certain funding and operation expenses, District 11, Ward 7. Mr. Davis?
Motion to adopt.
Okay, I also have Mr. Bender, that's where I was going. Mr. Bender, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Davis, if I could.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay.
I just went to him because he was there. Go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. Because we would be ready to adopt, but we still have a CEA that's being worked through by our attorney, Mr. Alphonse, okay? And we have another issue that needs to be resolved, okay? Dealing with the letter, President Cooper, that you received. So, Ms. Davis, I would ask that you make a motion to postpone for 1 month.
Talked to the coroner today. Is there an issue with this?
He wants to adopt?
This gives us the authority to complete the CEA and move forward on the other, to enter into a CEA, to the funding and operating expenses.
This is that 40 acres, is that right?
Well, it has to do with many of the items, including.
I guess my question legally is, it's not the CEA that I have an issue with, okay? We have to ask our attorney. It says to transfer immovable property to the coroner's office.
This was submitted by your
and this would
office.
be up for adoption. The transfer of the immovable property is what that letter referred to, okay? So I'd have to just ask our attorney, because of that not being resolved yet, is it appropriate to transfer the immovable property right now by this ordinance?
Well, the question is, does the ordinance transfer the property, or does the CEA that is ultimately signed transfer the property and the other items?
Mr. Chairman, I would have to say this to refer to Ms. Emily in this respect. The act that was approved by the state legislature, which first removed former Representative Tim Burns Act 181, but it replaced it with another act, I believe it's called 151, okay? And that calls for the ownership to revert back to the coroner's office for example, the building, the property, any immovables, okay? So I believe that this would be an ordinance for adoption tonight, actually moving the property over to them. And my only question is, are we ready at this point, and we're not, to my understanding, to handle an immovable right now? So I simply pointed out for our attorney to determine the propriety of that right now. I'm not looking to postpone, but I think we need to.
Sure. So reading the plain language of ordinance calendar number 6763, the first ordained paragraph, it ordains that the parish president is authorized to transfer the property described and depicted in this ordinance. So I don't know the answer to the question of whether you all are prepared to move forward with that transfer, but this does authorize the parish president to move forward upon adoption of this ordinance.
And that's
But if
my
I don't find
concern,
anything, then it doesn't-
Mr. President and Mr. Councilman Davis, is that this allows us to continue to work on the CEA, okay? And that's fine, because Joey's been working on that, okay, at y'all's instruction. But my concern is the wording that this tonight, if we approve it, it automatically transfers all the immovable property now. It's just a question.
I mean, there'll still
Nothing
need
is
to.
transferred until you sign a closing.
Right, there will still
like
need to
you
be a
transfer.
formal transfer by signature of the parish president. This act itself is not the transfer.
This was introduced a month ago.
Lawyers involved.
Mr. Talladano?
Yeah. Those are two different instruments. That's the first point to be made. But you could easily just take that word "and" out and put "upon entering into associate cooperative agreement," and that would solve the problem I think that Mr. Bender is concerned with.
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to remove my concern as long as legal department is happy with this and the timing of it. That's all.
Okay, I think, Ms. Emily,
I started to.
can we move forward with the adoption in your opinion?
Yes, I believe that this
Okay.
this ordinance was submitted by our Civil Division ADA.
Okay.
And I'm not aware of any other concerns from the coroner, but that again is up to the council, whether you all want to postpone tonight or move forward to allow the completion of that CEO.
Okay. Then you answered Mr. Bender's concern, and I appreciate his concern. Thank you, Jerry. And we'll move forward. So we had a motion by Mr. Talladano and a second by Mr. Davis. Okay. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6764, ordinance granting a non-exclusive franchise to Camellia City Fiber LLC for the purchase of construction, maintaining a fiber optic transmitter line et al. Within all public right-of-ways within unincorporated St. Tammany Parish. The motion? Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. Ordinance calendar number 6765, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 1.7 acres of land from A-6 multifamily residential district to HC-1 highway commercial district, Ward 9, District 12. Mr. Bender?
Could I, with apologies, interrupt just 1 second? Do we get a fee off of that franchise? Do we get a franchise fee off of that? Just curious. Yes. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6766, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 8.12 acres of land from A-1 suburban district, MHO, manufactured housing overlay and RO rural overlay to an A-2 suburban district and RO rural overlay, Ward 2, District 6. Ms. Tanner? Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with two absent.
Number 6, ordinance calendar number 6767, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 25.31 acres of land from A-1 suburban district to A-1A suburban district, Ward 1, District 3. Ms. Casby? Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with two absent.
Number 7, ordinance calendar number 6768, and ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 1.16 acres of land from A-4 single-family residential district to A-4A single-family residential district, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with two absent.
Number 8, ordinance calendar number 6769, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify .21 acres of land from A-4 single-family residential district to an A-4 single-family residential district and MHO manufactured housing overlay, Ward 9, District 11. Motion by Mr. Airy, second by Mr. Canulet. I have a card from Carl. I can't see that. Yes, Okay.
I thought we had to speak on the property,
I'm
sorry.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. We had a motion and a second. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 9, ordinance calendar number 6760, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 3.08 acres of land from its present AT-1 Animal Training Housing District to an A-4A Single Family Residential District, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 10, ordinance calendar number 6771, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 6.835 acres of land from A-1 suburban district to an A-1 suburban district in MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 2, District 6. Ms. Tanner? Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
11, ordinance calendar number 6772, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify .4 acres of land from A-4 single-family residential district to A-4A single-family residential district, Ward 9, District 11. Motion by Mr. Airy, second by Mr. Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 3 absent.
Number 12, ordinance calendar number 6773, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify .35 acres of land from A-4 single-family residential district to A-4 single-family residential district in MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Davis? A motion by Mr. Davis, second by Ms. Tanner, and we have a card from Joshua Overstreet. You okay, Josh? Thank you. All righty. Please vote.
Mr. Toledano? The motion is unanimous with 3 absent.
Number 13, ordinance calendar number 6774, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify .91 acres of land from A-2 suburban district to an A-2 suburban district in MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 9, District 11. Motion by Mr. Canulette, second by Mr. Bender. And we have a card, Ms. Roxy, that's the one you don't, okay, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, dear. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Drive safe. Number 14, ordinance calendar number 6775, an ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 25.96 acres of land from A-2 suburban district to a PF2 public facility district, Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Davis?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Davis, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 15, ordinance calendar number 6776, an ordinance to revote an unopened portion of Caroline Street, Mandeville, Louisiana, Ward 4, District 7. Mr. Davis?
So moved.
No.
Mr. Davis, we have, this needs to be postponed because it hasn't been heard by the zoning commission yet. It's on my radar from staff. Are you okay with that? Yes, sir. Motion by Mr. Davis to postpone, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 16, ordinance calendar number 6778, ordinance to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 52, informational technology. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. This amendment to the capital budget for information technology is for network equipment that's going to be located at our EOC.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 17, ordinance calendar number 6778, ordinance to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 53, Public Works. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. This amendment to the capital budget is for the Department of Public Works for equipment, an excavator, marsh buggy, and then also the culvert inspection camera system.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion by Mr. Toledano, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 18, ordinance calendar number 6779, ordinance to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 54, disaster relief, homeland security, and emergency operations. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. This amendment is for the acquisition of 2 vehicles for the parish emergency operations staff, and it's funded by a grant from GOSEP.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. O'Brien, second by Mr. Mike Smith. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 19, ordinance calendar, ordinance to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 55, public information. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. This capital amendment is for equipment for our STPG TV station, production system equipment.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. T.J. Smith, second by Ms. O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 23, ordinance calendar number 6781, ordinance to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 56, sales tax District 3, District 3, District 5. Ms. Long.
This budget amendment for District 5 is for the Three Rivers Road Drainage Project. It's a subsurface drainage project to add additional subsurface drainage.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6782, ordinance to amend the 2021 operating budget amendment number 10. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. This amendment is to the Development Fund to increase revenues based on 2020 and the 2021 year-to-date revenue.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. O'Brien, second by Ms. Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 6783, ordinance to amend the 2021 grants budget amendment number 10. Ms. Long?
Yes, sir. This amendment to the grants budget is for 7 awards, 2 from GOSEP for flood hazard mitigation for the elevation of structures. 1 is from for LAHEAP energy assistance to low-income families. And then there's 3 other ones, one for the coronavirus response for $22,000. But those the largest ones were LAHEAP and hazard mitigation for elevating structures.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. T.J. Smith, second by Mr. J. Carey. Please vote. Thought I hit it.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to discussions and other matters. We have a motion to refer to the zoning commission a zoning change for recreation district number 6. Ms. Tanner?
Yes, sir. When the parish-wide zoning was done many years ago, the Recreation District 6, one of their fields was listed as residential, and we need to go that before the zoning commission to get it changed to the right code.
Okay, all right.
Right
Thank you, Ms.
zoning.
Tanner. Motion by Ms. Tanner, second by Mr. Jimmy Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Oh, boy. Okay, I would assume I need to open the off the floor item again, huh? Okay. I have a motion and a second to open the off the floor. Motion by Mr. Jake Airy, second by Mr. Jerry Bender. Please vote. What, do you want me to read it first? Or? Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
What's it for?
Okay, you want me to read it first, Jerry? Okay. No. Number one, resolution to appoint Kurt Drummond to temporarily fill the vacancy position of parish, parish council member, district number 11. That's what it's for. Oh, Mr. TJ.
Yes, I was just wanting to know if your consideration of an earlier request was considered in.
Yes, sir, I was going to do that once we opened it up.
Excuse me.
Oh, maybe that might affect not opening it up. Why don't you let me touch on it then, TJ?
Go ahead.
We had Mr. Kurt Drummond's name come in, and later on today, a gentleman, Maurice Duchette, called and talked to Mr. TJ Smith about consideration for the position also. And we called him back and tried to get a hold of him. And in speaking to Mr. Smith, it was that he wanted his name included when we had this discussion. And I was going to do that and include it, but I was starting off as it was written. Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
That's great.
Okay, so thank you. So let's go back to, the original resolution as read to open it for Mr. Kurt Drummond to temporarily fill the vacancy position of parish councilman, just to open the floor for discussion. Please vote. Oh, we did? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just opening the floor right now.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. Okay. As I said, resolution number one was for Mr. Kurt Drummond to temporarily fill the vacancy position of parish council member, district number 11. What I'd like someone to do, if they would consider it, to make a motion to nominate Mr. Maurice Duchette, D-O-C-E-T-T-E. Is there a motion for that? Mr. Smith?
Yes, there is.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Smith. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Mike Smith. Please vote. Do I need to vote on that? No. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So therefore, we have Mr. Kurt Drummond and Mr. Maurice Duchette. And I guess the best we have two names, and Mr. Duchette, as I said, asked to be put on the ballot, as to be nominated, and we have done that. Therefore, and he is not here tonight, but his name is included for the record. And Mr. Kurt Drummond, if you'd like to come up and address the council, sir?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kirk Drum,
Drum.
and I'm on the Zoning and Planning Committee, or that's where I've been for these last couple of years, under Steve. And he had asked me to fill in his spot and to run for his position when he left, because he figured since I've been in his district and knowing everything about our district, I would be the best person to fill it.
Okay. He asked you that in
Yes, sir. He asked
discussions
me to do it.
prior?
In fact, I spoke to him about 2 weeks ago and said, "Do you still want to do it?" I said, "Yes."
Okay, okay. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bender?
Oh, wait, I don't
Oh,
want
I'm
to jump
sorry,
over
I'm sorry, Mr. Toledano was right. Riker?
I withdraw mine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Emily, Ms. Cooey, I'll answer.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bender?
Mr. Davis is ahead of me.
No, oh, Mr. Davis, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Drum, good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
I had actually served with Mr. Drum on the planning and zoning. I was on there for 12 years, and Mr. Drum was also on there at the same time. I think it'd be also a refreshing thing to have another member on this council, whether temporarily or full-time, that has some experience in planning and zoning. So I'm all for this nomination.
Thank you. Mr. Bender?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Drummond, well, first of all, thanks for wanting to be nominated. And since you're here with us, I got to ask this question. Would you just give us who are knowledgeable of you, but not your background and everything, can you give us a brief outline of your career, how many years on planning and zoning, et cetera?
Oh, the years is always something I can't remember. I think it's about somewhere between 7 and 8 years.
Okay.
And I did it. I asked Steve at one of his monthly meetings if there was anything I could do to help, because I wanted to assist and do what I could for the community. And he asked me if I wanted to fill in the spot that the previous man was leaving as a zoning and planning committee. And I said, well, yes. And he said, why do you want to do it? I said, because I've spent 20 years in the military and I want to continue to serve and I want to do something for the people. And I really enjoy it. I get to learn about the people and I'm hoping to better the society that I'm in.
So 20 years in the military, we appreciate your service. 7 or 8 years on the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is a good learning experience. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
And I also worked with Steve for 16 years at Lockheed Martin.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir.
Mr. T.J. Smith?
Yes. I've had the opportunity to observe Mr. Drum as well in his capacity on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the time that he served, and have been very encouraged by his performance. And my nomination of that other person was purely for the sake of making sure that this body was following the proper procedure, in that we only had 15 days in which to make this appointment. And I don't know that we got the advertisement out to the general public about what we're going to do tonight. So I think Miss Emily answered the question to you.
Yes, sir.
As to whether or not procedurally we are following the right procedure.
Yes, sir. That is correct, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Well, I'll let you know Steve was a very good teacher.
Well, we're not
And I
going to
had
get into
high
that too
esteem for
much,
him.
Fine.
Sir?
We're not going to get on that now. Sometime I might disagree. I'm kidding.
Well, to me, he was a good teacher.
I'm kidding you. But I will say one other thing before we get to the vote. I took a little exception, and I'm reconsidering my vote on Mr. Davis saying we needed more people from planning and zoning here, okay? And that concerns me a little bit also.
It's a
Okay.
sinister plot to try to put people.
I mean,
in
I
there.
can resign and we can get a couple more, you know what I mean? But anyway, thank you, sir.
Yes.
But, okay, I need a motion and a second to vote on Mr. Drummond. Motion by Mr. Canulette, second by Mr. Jake Airy. Please vote. We have a vote, you can choose between either one. No, I'm sorry, that's just for Mr.
This is going to be a vote to appoint Mr. Drum.
Mr. Drum, a vote to appoint Mr. Drummond, right. Thank you.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to number 2, based on number 1 that just passed. Resolution calling a special election to be held on Saturday, March. I know it is. I was getting to say, where's my November date?
Give us 1 minute.
November.
November 8th,
November 8th.
2022.
Thank you. Okay, as Mr. Smith said, we have 15 days to appoint someone, and then we need to call an election, and we have a number of dates to choose from. So I chose, I will read the resolution calling the special election to be held on November 8th, 2022, to fill the vacant position of St. Tammany Parish Council District 11 through the end of the current term of the office. Now, no, 2022. In other words, I was getting ready to go into that, Chris. We have a lot of elections, they cost money and so forth and so on, and you have not the greatest turnout sometimes. So naturally, we have a big election in November, and that would allow us to just put this on the ballot in November and move it on, and also give everyone a chance to work. Okay, thank you. Motion by Mr. Canulet, second by Mr. Jake Airy. Please vote. What's that?
The motion is unanimous with 2 absent.
Thank you. And what we'll do now is we'll do the swearing in. Kurt, you come up, sir.
All right, just raise your right hands and repeat after me.
Me.
I state your name.
I state your name. I'm sorry. I, Kirk Michael Drum,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me
all the duties incumbent on me
as St. Tammany Parish District 11 Councilman
as St. Tammany Parish District 11 Councilman
to the best of my ability and understanding,
to the best of my ability and understanding,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I suggest that Mr. Drum has the privilege of making our motion to adjourn.
Sure.
I make a motion that we all adjourn and go get a drink.
Second by Mr. Davis.